Yo, 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 what up, everybody? Welcome to another fantastic episode of Behind Them Sticks with your boy Ham Solo 05 Gaming here with you on the TSWS Gaming YouTube channel. And today, I brought someone from the Lord's house this afternoon. Usually we do this show a little bit later in the evening, but I had to adjust my schedule for this brother, this person I've been dying to have on this show for quite some time. And as you guys know, I interview people all over the world. So adjusting my time for brother Cognito was no problem. I just had to make sure it was on a Thursday because, I mean, that's when I do my damn thing. But anyways, what up, Mr. Lord Cognito of the Iron Lords podcast? What is cracking with you, brother? How you doing? Let me know how you feeling today, man. I'm so excited to do this. Let's go.
I'm feeling good in the realm right now. I got an intro. Like, I'm not used to that. If a man here in the building, like, look, we gonna talk about these games. We gonna get behind these sticks. And I really appreciate you. I want to give you your flowers because I really appreciate you accommodating my extremely difficult schedule. And I don't get a chance to guest on podcasts anymore. And there's a part of me that misses that. And obviously, we'll get into things that you do and stuff that you get into. But I respect it. I really respect it. So I did my homework, and I was like, nah, I got to come through. I got to show love. And we're gonna talk about games. We're gonna talk about it all. We got some fun today. So I appreciate the invite. Really, really, truly so.
Man, the pleasure is all mine, brother. Absolutely. I'm sure somebody in the chat expected me to say introducing, but hey, that's your swag, man. I ain't gonna bite off it. I did actually do some type of introduction like you did early when I first started, and I actually shouted it out to you, and I remember you saying like, go ahead with your bad self, but I was just like, man, I gotta do my own thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it is right now. So happy to see everybody in the chat, see some fantastic and familiar faces up in there. FarQ, Tortoise Hawaii, Ducato, let's see, John Wolf, Kay Asante, yep, Matt Likes Games, Back from the Dead, the Killer,
yes,
Silent Cypher. Man, already. I like to call Silent Cypher Solid Snake at this point because brother got that voice. He got that voice. I'm mixed up between Solid Snake and Hitman because brother got that whole Hitman ambiance.
Yeah, the whole vibe. Yeah, it's the whole movement with it. Yep, you're right. I respect that.
Absolutely, But back to you, because this is what this show is about today. It's about Mr. Cognito. And brother, please tell me what it was like for you this past Sunday, getting so much love from the community. I mean, you had, content creators like Wandering Dutch on there, which he's going to be having his indie showcase this Saturday, and then he'll be on this channel tomorrow with me, Matt Likes Games, and Cozy Beluga for bullshitting. So you had people like that, but then you had all the way up to like people like Jason Ronald coming in. Jason Ronald spitting some bars on your podcast, telling you how great you guys are. He didn't just come in there talked about video games or to talk this and that or Redfall or anything crazy. He came in there to talk about y'all and the work that you guys put in.
Bro, you understand, like, for me, that's probably one of the most humbling I still can't get over what happened this last week. I'll be honest, like,
it was like 5 hours of love, man. It was insane. Bro, y'all didn't even get to the topics until like 5 or 6.
Yo, because it was so crazy here because it was like, I don't really get emotional like that, but that episode made me mad emotional. Like, it was just because you know what it is. You, as a content creator, you do it so long, you work so hard, and I'm a guy. I'm always a forward thinker. I don't really spend a lot of time dwelling or a lot of time celebrating my own past or my own accomplishments. You know what I'm saying? I actually, truth be told, I actually am uncomfortable with it sometimes. Like, I actually like giving love to others and giving them they shine. So I'm not used
right?
Yeah, like I'm not used to it, to be honest. So for me to see like everybody come through and be like, nah, we're not just gonna do no little video and then dip, like, or send you a video and dip. They were like, no, we're pulling up, we're coming through. And like also, I think a big part of it, don't get me wrong, I love that the community came through. The other thing that I felt like we talked to each other, me, King, Addict, so we talked about the trials and tribulations. That first 30 to 45 minutes is kind of ILP history, and the trials and tribulations are forming it. And we all having our little problems with each other, and how the podcast kind of brought and mended so many things, and we became even a stronger brotherhood. And I think that's what really hit me, because I called each of them and I'm like, yo, you said some real stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like you really hit the mark on how the true story is. 'Cause a lot of people don't know the true story. A lot of the truth came out, and it felt good. And like you said, the community. You know, Jason. I was so happy to see Colin pulled up. You know, just the content creators that we all love and respect. That's been there through our journey. When you know how, like I know how it is when you're starting, and it'd be like 5 people in the chat, 2 people in the chat, and you like, yo, fam, like you my man, why you not there? Why you able, like I used to get emotional. I'd be like, yo, you claim you rock with me, but you not in the joint. And I remember those days, and I remember the time of kind of like, yo, am I going to continue to do this? Like, is this, you know, something, because I'm not having any immediate success? Is it something that we should continue? And I remember talking with Addict, and I was like, nah, I still love to do this. I
Right.
still enjoy it. And I was like, we're gonna keep rocking. Because usually the first 10 episodes, the first 10 to 20 episodes is when you kind of get a feel of whether or not you want to do something. I think that's what I kind of got into my own with that.
Okay, well, pause on that real quick because I am going to dig a little bit
Yeah,
deeper into that. But there is
no
one
doubt.
specific thing that I remember from your podcast that kind of like was an eye opener for me and really like let me know that I need to slow my ass down. I mean, because like when I was watching it, I'm seeing all these fantastic content creators coming up, and like people that are like clear past 1,000, hitting the 12,000 mark, or even further past than that, right? So,
Yeah.
so I see Boom come on to your show and start talking. You know, Officer Friendly come outside, and
Family.
and yeah, he came out to your podcast, and he was like, I remember watching you guys get bigger
Mm,
and you guys struggled to get to 1,000 subscribers.
yes, very true.
That blew me away. I was like, how? How
Yeah,
did these guys struggle to get
yeah.
to 1,000 subscribers? Take me back to that time to what that was like.
So basically, at that point, you know, we were in a good pocket creatively. I felt that it was one of those situations where I like, yo, give us a chance, right? Because it's like if you just come on once and give it a chance, I'm guarantee you're gonna have some fun. Like it was one of that type of energy, and it was still a struggle. It was still a struggle to kind of get guests. It was still a struggle to get over the mark, and we were trying different things, and the subscribers just wasn't growing like that. And shout out to Boom. Like Boom actually hit me up and he was like, yo, I really enjoy your podcast. And he's like, it is criminal that you guys are not bigger than where you are currently. And I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I'm still learning the
Right?
game.
You
I don't
beating the
know the
chest a little bit.
algorithm.
You're like, yeah.
I appreciate the love, but it was just one of those things where just like, yo, I mean, I didn't understand how things work. And he just said, look, you know, I want to do a spotlight on you guys. I'll never forget this with Boom. And I was like, okay. And he basically like, you come on my show, and he was bigger at the time, and he was just like, hey, come on. I want my audience to know who you guys are. And he was like, "Hey, let's get them over." You know what I'm saying? Because at that point, then we're getting closer, but it was a grind. It was a slow grind for like a whole year, and finally, yeah, it went through, and Boom is big responsible for that. I always got love for him. Like he always felt in his heart, you know, that let's support the real, let's support some good people, some good dudes, and the content was good. So yeah, absolutely. Like that was a moment I'd never forget. Getting over 1,000 was a big threshold before we continued on to other things.
So, which one was harder for you?
Mhm.
Maintaining your crew or getting through these, you know, subscriptions and, you know, people watching, concurrent viewers and stuff like that? Which one to you was like harder out the gate?
Hard out the gate was probably the subscribers because maintaining us, I mean, we're very strong, four strong personalities, right? But at the same time, it's still a genuine brotherhood. So for us, that wasn't as much as long as we communicated, hey, this is what's going on in my life. Hey, this is going on. Okay, cool. We're going to adapt and work around that so we can have the synergy on the podcast because we want to keep the essence of the podcast. This is how we act for real. Like there's no BSing, you know what I'm saying? We are friends for real. We hang outside for real. We do things together, that kind of energy. But as far as the podcast and the growth, that was the struggle because, you know, there's a space that's new to like three older dudes. Attic is the younger cat that kind of knows the game a little bit better than us. But we sitting there trying guerrilla tactics and other things and like, yo, why, they ain't rocking with us. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of thing. And that was the struggle initially. You know what I'm saying? It was never jealousy of anybody else, but it was just kind of like, okay, what can we do to really grow? Like we tried so many different things and it didn't seem that anything was hitting as far as like, even you asked me behind the scene one time, like what we could do to promote and stuff like that.
Right.
And a lot of it is getting support, no question, relationships, that was huge. But like just genuinely, I remember like telling people, hey, if you come on, guarantee you're gonna have a good time. I guarantee you're gonna have a good. It was kind of that kind of energy. And telling people I would actually give them outs, like, hey, if you could only stay 30 minutes, if you could only stay, I give you an out. Like if you don't like it, you can rock, right? But what would happen to him, they come on and then 30 minutes, you're like, wait a minute, they said they here for like an hour and a half. Like they having a good old time. So that's what I knew. I'm like, I know we got it. That's what made me believe and stick with it because it's just like there's no doubt what's going on is special. It's just people wasn't giving us a chance. And once somebody had a good time, that kind of spread to other people and things like that. And yeah, but that was probably to your question, that was the hardest part, just the growing. You know what I'm saying? And I owe a lot to King too. King, the crest, the shirts, all like he really was on some guerrilla tactics and advertising and things of that nature.
Man, that's fantastic. Now, I've heard about you guys talk about adding Addict at one time. Tell me about what that was like. Like, where did you guys so obviously you guys were like moving already when Addict walked into the building. What was the introduction like? How did you guys actually go to like get Addict? How did you acquire? How did you acquire?
So
Mr. Lord Addict.
Let me clarity. Let me give clarity because Addict was there. Addict wasn't there in the South Bronx, right, bro? So he basically he didn't grow up with us, right? But Addict is responsible for Iron Lord's podcast. Make no mistake. Like we were not Iron Lord podcast, and then he came. We formed Iron Lord podcast with him because he kept pushing the idea. Listen, it's basically this. It was Xbox Live party chats. Right. Again, me, Sov, King, grew up in the South Bronx, known each other for years. Sov, I've known him since the third grade. We've been in every class together since like almost the third grade all the way to like high school kind of deal. So then you got King, who's family, legit family, cousin. Right. And then, King was a wild boy. You know what I'm saying? So basically, ILP, pre-ILP was called Channel 5, and it used to come to the South Bronx, Mama Cog's house. I used to let, the whole block come into my crib and play games, and that would kind of get them off the street. So we did that for years. Everybody got older. People got married. People separated. That kind of
space.
Yeah. So like everybody knew on Saturdays, my place is the place to chill. No matter what's going on in the Bronx, you got problems, bro, come through. We're going to play this Halo. We got the system link. We're going to do that. Like, it was that kind of energy. And I used to fight with Mom Dukes at the time because I'd be like, hey, you don't like when I'm on the street running and wilding around. But if I'm playing games and you know where I'm at, I really shouldn't hear no lip about how many, even though it's like 10, 12 people in the crib. But anyway, back to your question about Addict. So we get older, we split apart. I'm on Xbox Live. Xbox Live kind of still kept us somewhat in contact with each other.
Okay.
I get on Xbox Live and I got to shout my man Anchorman V. I used to watch YouTube a little bit, and I remember him and a couple other characters, maybe the Dealer Gamings, the TXR podcast, and they were kind of gaming centric, and they were good. They were informative. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And then there was this one party chat. I'm like, who's this dude? He real loud and opinionated, but he's funny. And I was like, who's this? At the time, his name was Room to Kill in Xbox Live. That was his gamer tag. And he would come in, but he was passionate, he was opinionated, and then me and him really hit it off. He was a friend of Anchorman, but then that's how I met him. And then it basically started like, yo, I was a big Destiny fan. So I was like, yo, Destiny. I was about Destiny fanboy. Like when Destiny 1 first came out, Destiny's the greatest game. I was in that type of bag. I was super fanboy energy for Destiny. And he was like, Destiny's trash.
Mm.
He would go at me. I'm like, so what's your favorite game? He's like, Assassin's Creed. So then what happens is I'm like, all right, new Destiny. I'm gonna pick up that Destiny. You pick up Assassin's Creed Unity. I was like, we was gonna buy it for the other one or something like that. And we made like a bet. If you don't like it, you can keep it or whatever. He ends up liking it. And then we formed this really tight friendship. And every time we'd be in a party, he'd be like, yo, Cog, I'm telling you should do a podcast. We should do a podcast. And me personally, I'm just like, for younger dude, I don't do no podcast. Like I'm old. Like I would clown him. I'll just be like, I'm not doing it. Like I thought that podcast wasn't something cool, or I don't know. It's just my mindset at the time. Just never would envision me doing anything like that. So I eventually
I was there mentally too. I was like, the whole gaming YouTube thing I thought was silly. I'm gonna be real. Me, picturing myself here 5 years ago, nah.
Yeah,
nah. I was not a fan.
Deal. Not a fan. I
Didn't get it.
You know what it was? I didn't understand it. That's exact ham. That's exact. I just like, why would anyone want to sit there and listen to somebody or watch someone else play something? I was like, I go play it myself. Like I just didn't understand it. You know, old man energy. That's just what it was. So he eventually says, okay, he got me to convince me this way. He goes, I'll host it. I want you as a guest. All right, I'll see what it is. I'll come through. And initially, it was Destiny only. And after a couple episodes, I was like, you know what? All right, it's not too bad. Kind of fun. Like just talking and getting into it. And I slowly started to build it up. And then, as it went on, he just goes, "So, bro, like, I think you should host it." And I ain't gonna lie, I was starting to get the fever. I was starting to really get into just talking about games, and I felt like people liked the stuff that I had to say sometimes. So I was just like, "Yo, this is cool." And then that kind of went to me hosting, and then it went to, okay, we like you guys, but we don't like Destiny. Then it was like, all right, so let's open it up, because there was two other Iron Lords at the time before King and Saul. And shout out to my man Sleet and Swat. Those are part of the Destiny only Iron Lords. And then they schedule-wise, those two had issues. And then I was like, all right, well, let's make it. I think we went to ILG. We were like Iron Lords Gaming or something like that. And then we would have people come on. Shout out to Tim Dog, shout out to Anchor. And then I remember having Solve on as a guest, King on as a guest, and this is fam. So when those two came on, it was instant chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when mine started to work. And I'm like, yo, this is it. So I'm going to ask them individually, like, bro, would you do, Iron Lords podcast with us? And so I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then King, the same thing. And then once King came, that took us to the next level. Because that's my bro. You know what I'm saying? Like
he's a character. He has a very strong personality. He's funny, but in a snap of a finger, he can be serious.
Yes.
And it's really interesting to watch. His aura demands attention.
Yes.
Just something about it. And it's fantastic. And it's almost like I don't know. This sounds ridiculous saying, but he can be younger than you, but still give you a big brother aura. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Even though he's older than me. But like, I'm just saying, like the way he talks, the way he moves, he reminds me of my big brother.
Mm-hmm.
Like very don't play attitude, but but he's willing to play.
Yes. And literally, like, the funniest person I know. Like, I got some of the greatest laughs in my life from King. We could say words that trigger moments that we remember. And I knew once he became a part of it that it was going to go next level, because I told people, I'm like, bro, you should do stand up. You're that funny, bro. Like literally, he's like, nah, I'll just rock with y'all kind of thing. And then we have that synergy because we know each other. I know what things to say to trigger. He know what things to trigger me, and then we'll get back and forth. But it's all love. You know what I'm saying? That's what I love him for. And then obviously with Solve, I've known him since the 3rd grade. He's literally the smartest kid I know. Like, I was a medium student going through school. Solve was like valedictorian, honor roll. Like, Solve was that kid. Like, he was super smart and stuff like that. He always loved gaming. So it just made sense. And then Attic just so persistent. And the thing I love about Addict is he really made me passionate about content creation, and then I became addicted, bro. Literally off his namesake, like I became addicted to the game.
Man, I tell you, like it's almost like you describe yourself like the Mark Jackson to the Reggie Miller that is King David. You just up in his ear letting him know some stuff that'll get him nice and hot and irritating.
He can't guard you. He can't guard you. Tell him, King. And then he get in his bag. Like I know. What's funny is he mentioned it too, because he's like, other people have a board and they'll try to replicate, but it's like it's just this natural thing. We know the triggers to get each other going, and it's just when there's certain times I could just rewatch him 1,000 times and still laugh. It's like he's just that dude, man. Salute the King, man.
Yeah. He's a fantastic individual that I actually had on this podcast. He's actually one of my early episodes, and shout out to him big time because he's one of the reasons that I actually got into podcasting. He was one of the first people I hit up, actually. I was just thinking about getting into podcasting. I was, doing my research, watching other shows and stuff like that. Wondering how I was going to be as charismatic as like a Colt Eastwood, a Dealer, you. I see Wandering Dutch. He looks really comfortable, although sometimes he looks quiet. But he is very comfortable with what he does, and he's very focused on what he does. So shout out to him. But I was just like, man, how am I going to get into this? Like, and what all do I need to get started? And I was like, King seems like a really nice dude. I've watched several episodes of Iron Lord's podcast at that time, and I was just like, let me holler at him because he gives off this, energy, and he actually literally says like, I'm willing, DMs are open, holler at me.
He's real about it.
He literally comes outside and says that. So I hit him up like, yo, I'm thinking about getting into podcasting. I don't know what to do. I have a web camera and a headset with a mic. And he was just like, sounds good. What are you waiting on?
Let's go.
And I was just like, what do you mean? Like, don't I need to have all this other stuff? And he's like, do you really want to invest in all that stuff before you know if you want to do it? And I was just like, ouch. You know how he says that stuff to you, and it makes you feel like, wow, that was stupid.
I grew up with it, brother. I know the vibe. He's got that energy.
So he was like, yeah, just get started, but I'm going to forward you over to Addict in case you have any specific questions about tech, because he'll be more helpful. If you need a few things, he can at least direct you into the right direction. So I ended up, so Addict ends up DMing me and saying, yo, I heard you were looking for me. And I was like, yeah. So we talked for a little while. He pretty much told me the same thing King told me. but he was like, this is what you probably should work towards getting, talking about like the arm, actual microphone instead of the headset mic. And just a few little tidbit things to get going. And it was helpful in the sense that it just made me stop thinking about what I need to spend on and just go outside and get it done.
Exactly.
Now I'm about a year and a half into this, just under maybe a year and a half into doing all of this.
Right.
500 plus subscribers later. Right. You are now the third person from the Iron Lords podcast to be on my show. I've had King, I've had Lord Addict, and now I got you. All there is left is Saw.
The elusive Saw.
Yeah.
He's hard to get.
Brother Saul, he stays busy, he stays working and stuff like that. So I get it. And that's another thing I had to learn throughout this business is how to manage not only my time but other people's as well. To give them the respect. And I hear you talk about it every single time Iron Lord's podcast goes live. Got to respect this person's time. Got to respect this person's time. Got to respect this person's time. And now I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Absolutely, brother. No, you're right. You're right. It's not easy, but yeah, once people see that you respect it, they're more apt to kind of work with you and understand. You know what I mean? Because all of us got stuff going on, but yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing once the time happens, and then it's like, all right, let's just have some fun, let's talk games and all that. So yeah, I respect it. I respect your journey as well.
Thank you, thank you. So let's actually get into some of the gaming history now, because we hit over a little bit on the podcast part, and I may have a few other questions a little bit later down the road. But I want to get
Mhm.
into some of that gaming stuff, because you said that you used to have people come through the crib. You'd have like
Yeah.
12 folks up in your house, mama going crazy.
Yep,
You,
she's
uh,
flipping. Yeah, I
random
mean,
people in your
loud noise,
refrigerator.
mad. She's like, "Who is that? Why are they running up and down the steps? Like, what's going on? Why is
Mm.
10 of y'all? Why is so like? Oh man, I used to hear it. I used to." So what you want
What
to know here? What you want to know?
Yeah, so what was the first thing that actually got you kicked off? Because obviously, by the time that you were at Xbox, you were hardcore probably by that
Right,
time.
correct.
Where did you start? What was your very first console that you rocked with?
We got to start before that, brother. I mean, we gotta go behind them sticks. Real.
Okay.
You gotta go behind them sticks for real. Like for me, everything. Shout out to my dad because my mom's and pops are separated, but he used to have visitation rights with me probably like on the weekend. So like my mom's was super
Same here.
religious.
I feel that.
So my mom's was like wasn't trying to hear me with none of this game stuff, and it was just tough. But he was like, nah, we gonna do this when it's my time. You with me. So he would
Mhm.
take me to the arcades, like 42nd Street, New York
Them
City. We
real
have like
sticks right there.
yeah, bro. And I was just mesmerized. It's something about going into these arcade dedicated facilities, dimly lit, the reflection of the screen, the joysticks, and the noise and the sound. You get them quarters, you put that joint in, and it was magic to me. Now it was just the idea that I'm controlling what's on the screen as a kid was just amazing. And I remember, seeing all the stuff, the Pac-Mans and the Miss Pac-Mans, all that stuff. But for me, where it really started was this is why I love Sega. I go hard for Sega because Sega, to me, their arcade presentations were the best. Like the first
Space
probably game.
Harrier. Woo.
Get ready. Dun, dun, dun. I know the music as a kid. Because I didn't get it. This how music is gaming is so important to me. Like, bro, like I didn't get a chance to experience it much, but when I get, I would soak everything up like a sponge. I remember music, soundtrack, sound effects. Like you say, Space Harry, I already did the soundtracks. Get ready, and you doing the
Yeah,
thing.
he's all running
Yeah,
and
like
then
I
flying.
know you're flying around, dude. So I remember there was a joint. I'm like, it looked like a motorcycle, a legit motorcycle cabinet, and the speakers were blaring. And as a person who like hip hop and beats, I would just hear something doom 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 doom, and I was like, "What is that?" It was Hang On, and I would just stand at
Mm. That
the
game's
screen,
tough.
bro, and I would look at it, and I was just like, "Yo, can I play that?" He was like, "Yeah, go ahead." We gave me the quarter, and you jump on the bike and you lean like it was a
Literally
full
hanging
thing.
on.
Hanging on, and I'll try to master that joint like crazy, like and like to the point like I would go home fiending for the next time I could come back. Like, bro, that's how come I remember music, video game music so vividly. I was such a fiend, and I was just like, I just remembered everything. So anyway, that to the outruns, the and then the one that changed my life as a Sega kid, as an arcade kid, was Shinobi. That game changed my
Mm.
life. Now, they had that joint at the local, not wasn't in the arcade. Now we in the BX. It was kind of like a local laundromat.
Oh, the
Like
BX, you talking about military right now. What's
yeah,
up?
you know what I'm saying. I was in the South Bronx, and bro, like we go there, and I remember seeing it. And mind you, this is the '80s, late '80s. The kung fu and the ninja craze is at its height. Everything is kung fu flicks and ninjas everywhere, movies, entertainment. So Sega got one. It was called Shinobi. And I remember seeing that joint. What's up, Joe and Doug? What's going on, brother? And like what happened is I was just like, there was this one kid, his name was Dawn in the hood. And they used to call him Shinobi Dawn. And Shinobi at that time was so like kids complaining about Dark Souls now. I'm talking about one hit, one life, you're dead. That's it.
Yep.
This was an unforgiving game. Like and you had unlimited ninja stars. You had one ninja magic you could only use per stage, and I was just mesmerized by like this kid was masterful. He would beat the game on one quarter, and he would get the whole arcade to come around him and grab. And I
Mm.
was just, they'd be like, "Yo, Dawn coming through. Shinobi, they'd be like, Dawn coming through." I'm like, oh, Shinobi Dawn's here. Let me go check.
You got
And I
people
was just,
moving out of the way just to let him play. He's just like, you
bro,
go on ahead. I can't do this. You
and I,
clearly got it.
bro, and I remember you. That's how the respect. I just remember there was something about arcade respect, whether it be a fighting game or just anything. But he would come through, beat the game on one quarter, and I would just to myself as a kid, as a shorty, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna own that game one day. I'm gonna be as nice as Shinobi Dawn. You know what I'm saying? Like I was that. I'm like, bro, when I get older, bro, I'm gonna have that, and I'm gonna be just as nice. And yo, I spoke it into existence. That I have the arcade in the South Bronx. My mom's still screaming at me. She's like, "When are you gonna get this stuff out of here?" Because if I own, I got the upright arcade Shinobi cabinet. You know what I'm saying?
Goodness, that's expensive.
Yeah, well, I got a deal. I'll tell you about that. But well, basically, arcade business was going out, and there was an old Texas distributor, and they were just giving them away. They were like, "Yo, we arcade seat is dead. We're selling them. I got it on eBay for like $100. The problem was, yeah, and then the only thing is they shipped it, but then when they shipped it to the South Bronx, I'm like, all right, guys, I'm on the 3rd floor. They were like, what you talking about? We leaving it right here. You better go get movers for that. A big truck came through my street in the South Bronx, left it on a crate, and said, that's where it's at. You go figure it out from here. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna get my joint robbed. So I had to call movers on the spot, call King. I'm like, yo, bro, I need help. We got to get this joint up the steps. But to this day, I got the arcade Shinobi, the arcade Rolling Thunder in my mom's crib on the 4th floor, and she's still to the. When are you coming to get these things? Yeah. So shout out there, but that was my dream. My dream was I wanted to own it. I wanted to be, one of the best at it. And then, yeah, the music. Oh, Joanna Dawn, what you know about the Shinobi music? Oh man. Bro, I can sing everything. I'm telling you, I remember these joints. So anyway, long story short, yeah, that was it. So everything came from the arcade. The Sega love really resonated. Outrun was another big one. Musical Sound Shower, all the beats and that stuff.
In them corners.
Yeah. Oh man, don't let me go. But anyway, so yeah, it was that. It was arcade. And then that's when I said from a console perspective, I'm gonna stick with Sega because Sega's my heart. Arcade. I heard about Master System, and I just was like, yo, I want it, and that was kind of like one of the first consoles that I think my dad got for me at the time. And when I got that, that's when you realize at a young age, Ham, about the console port.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is Hang On, but it's not really Hang On. It's Shinobi. It's like, remember the old, like, I don't know if you remember old comedies. It's like, I want McDonald's. You're like, we got McDonald's at home. Like, it was what, like the 2 pieces of Wonder Bread and a big fat house burger, and you know what I'm saying, and the grease.
It's all making the bread all wet.
Yeah. Your mom talking about, we got McDonald's at home. And that's how console gaming back then kind of felt. I was smart enough to ascertain this ain't the same exact thing. I'm having fun, but this ain't the same. So yeah, like man, it was a learning experience. But I was a Sega kid. Oh, Rocky on the Master System, let's go. So Jordan Dax in his bag today. But and then here's the other thing. Shout out to my cousin Black Magic. They got Nintendo Entertainment System. He's like, yo, you gotta come over. I got Nintendo. And back then it wasn't no console war. It was just like, hey, I got this. You come over. You got this. That kind of thing. So I come over, and I ain't going front here. When I saw Mario and Zelda and Mike Tyson Punch Out, yo, this Nintendo, yo. Like, and Nintendo had the whole wave in the hood. Like everybody, I was like the only Sega kid at that time. Because again, I'm just coming off of my excitement. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen,
I was a Sega kid, bro. So I ain't mad at you.
Talk to me, because it was hard though. Like Nintendo was so dominant in just the entertainment sphere. Everywhere, commercials, advertising. Nintendo Power was huge. And like, I couldn't help but like, damn, I do got to get it at some point. Like, I would go over his house and be a little jelly, like, damn, when I go home, I want to continue to play these games, kind of thing. But they'd come over and they'd have fun. We had like Double Dragon 2-player, the official Double Dragon on Master System. But then for me, where I got to pop off was Genesis. And I know that's probably one of your questions for favorite, but Genesis, man, that changed everything for me, bro.
It
I remember.
changed everything for me too, brother, because
Yeah.
I was very similar to you. I had friends that had the Nintendo down the road, cousins
Mhm.
that had the Nintendo and stuff like that, and I happened to be the only brother with a copy of Mortal Kombat, the correct copy,
Oh,
the correct
blood,
copy,
no sweat.
and Road Rash 2 was also my joint back then. Not 94 Madden, Bill Walsh football was the joint as
Ooh.
well for me. Greatest heavyweight boxing with them dudes
Yes.
calling you a sucker and a
Sucker,
sissy.
come on, sucker. Yeah. Ooh, ooh. These
Yeah.
had those sound effects. Yeah. Oh man.
Oh yeah, you can make your character like green with like red
Yeah.
hair and stuff like that, and he look like a black dude with a fade.
With a little crowd sound effects.
Those were
Yo.
my joints back in the day. I absolutely love those. Also, Justice League was another big one.
Let's go.
Aladdin, X-Man with Magneto that was like in the center of the screen when you got towards the end of the level or end of the
Yes.
game or whatnot.
Yes.
I mean, Sega was my thing. I
Yes.
rode my Sega hard all the way up until the point where I had to prop up the back with a
Mm.
couple game cases to keep the AC adapter plugged
Plug
into it.
in. Talk about it.
If you
That's
remember
real.
those old consoles,
Yeah.
if you
Yes.
played the heck out of those things, or
Mhm.
somebody walk in the room and that cord going down, and somebody trip
Oh,
over that cord, oh
over.
man.
Remember the old RF switch, channel 3, channel 4 kind of
Mm.
thing in order to get it, bro. Those are the
You
days,
had to
man.
screw
You
in
like,
those things on
yeah,
the back of your
screw in.
TV.
Yes, and you, let's be honest, like if you had a one TV household, most of us did. Like, mom's kind of mad, like, dominating the TV. The people won't watch the TV, and you know what I'm saying, because you had to take over that joint. But yeah, man, I'm with you. But like Sega, so many shout out to again, yeah, Golden Axe, Afterbirth, all that good stuff. It was Genesis that when I started to see the gap starting to close from the arcade, and I was just like, yo, and it was all about big sprites. I remember seeing Rise from Your Grave, the Altered Beast joint.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing the one that did it for me, surprisingly, was a game called Last Battle. And literally, what's funny is, as I got older, I didn't realize that Last Battle was really a copy of Fist of the North Star, and I thought it was the opposite. Like I didn't know. Like so, it was just like he was a big sprite. He would walk, kill up people, and then he would get bigger, and then like he would get a whole different kung fu moveset, and it was a hard game. It was a very hard, like side scrolling, one player, kind of not beat 'em up, and then they had boss fights. But it was really, really good, man. Shout out to 4Q. Streets of Rage changed the game. We gonna get into it.
Yes, it did.
You know what
Yes,
I'm
it
saying?
did.
Yeah. Speaking of music, shout out to my man Yuzo Koshiro. Oh my god, like that. You play that game, you thought you was in the club in the 90s. Like it was lit. Like, yeah, Streets of Rage was another one. Yeah,
I used to like the
Fantasy.
Skater Kid.
Oh yeah, Skate. Little Skate. He had the Diddy Bop. Remember Skate
Yep.
had the Diddy Bop with the
Yep.
hands, bro? What? Yeah, Skate. Shout out to Axe. Yes. Streets of Rage.
He had that
was
fast
serious.
skate move.
Skate. Then he would jump on the back and do the pound out on the top of the head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was
yeah. Kick you with the blades and stuff like
Yes.
that. That joint was
Yeah,
real
bro.
nice. But
Yeah,
moving on from
yeah.
the NES and
Mhm.
the Sega Genesis,
Mhm.
you said you got your taste of Nintendo, and you're like, man, that tastes pretty good.
Good. Front.
Moving on from there, were you like, did you go straight into the Super Nintendo, or did you wait until like the 64? What was the
Yeah.
next Nintendo joint for you?
So this is where King comes in, because again, King, older, got money. I don't. And pretty much he would be like, I would get the chance to beta test the new consoles before they came out, because he knew about the Japanese import scene in New York City. So what happens is I'm rocking heavy with Genesis at this time, right? So the Japanese consoles would come out 1 year ahead of the United States release. So he knew the importer, and he would get the Super Famicom, which was the Japanese version of the Super NES before it came out. So what happens is, he's like, yo, Cog, yo, come through, color projects come through. I got it. So you got the new one? All right, let me see how it's going on. He's like, yo, you ain't ready. So I was like, my mind.
that sound like something you'd say to you ain't ready.
He's like, you ain't ready. I'm like, bro, Sega all day, but I want to see what I see. I was in my fanboy. I want to see what them dudes gonna do. Let me see. All right. So I come through. First game he fires up. Obviously Mario. All right, cool. Looks good. Looks good. I wasn't shook yet. I was like, it looks good. Looks better than the NES.
It was expected, though. I feel you.
Yeah. I was like, they ain't messing with Genesis, though. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? He threw on. Now, again, these games are not considered classics, what I'm about to mention, but we have to talk about the tech at the time. Genesis was very side-scrolling, very fast processing, the Sonics and all that stuff, right? Super Nintendo. Blast process. You already know the vibe. So Super Nintendo, though, really ushered in the 3D era with a thing called Mode 7. Mode 7 was like true 3D scaling, flying through. They had a game called Pilot Wings at first. Like getting fly to the air. It's 3D. Like Genesis wasn't really 3D graphics like that. So I would see the smoothness. I'm like, hey, yo, this look crazy. And the game that really did it for me, surprisingly, was a game called F-Zero. F-Zero was this racing game moving. I mean, it probably wasn't even 30 frames per second. Who knows what it was? But it was
Captain
so
Falcon.
Yeah, you already know. Let's go. And you couldn't hit the barriers on the side. You keep your energy up. And like it was moved that Mode 7 scaling, moving so fast in the 3D, it just simulated it. And I was like, and you know what, as a kid, I'm like, yo, Genesis ain't doing that. There's no game that from a technical standpoint, from a graphical standpoint, what Nintendo's doing. And then I got to give them another thing. They had one of the best sound chips. There was a game called Actraiser that sounded like it was an orchestra playing in the damn game. I'm like, yo, what is going on? So I remember I was me and my man, shout out my man Oz. We went up to King's crib in the projects, and then we leave it. So after I'm like, yo, so how much did that joint cost? How much? That's when you know somebody interested. And he'd be like, yeah, you gotta wait, but the Japanese is out. So I remember leaving his crib, and I had envy, I had jealousy. I was like, that's Nintendo, man. I'm gonna fire. So those were the initial stages, and the Super Castlevania,
bad, man.
Yeah, they had me, man. I was looking at my Genesis with the side eye, like, damn, y'all not doing that. I ain't going front. But the Genesis had his joint. They still was rocking. But that's what I knew Super Nintendo was here. Like they were coming.
Okay, so then obviously to combat Nintendo, Sega came out with their own products to kind of boost what they to boost their catalog and also their performance and stuff like that. You know, Sega CD comes out.
Yes.
Where's your head?
Again, at this point, Cog ain't really getting the money like that. So everything gotta go through King. So, you know, I don't think I had a summer youth job at that time. So he had the CD, he had the 32X, and I would go check it out. And I'm like, okay, these are nice. But I'm gonna be honest though, I was still in a pocket with them where I'm like, these are improvements. Not that they weren't better than what, because I remember playing, I think it was Final Fight on the Genesis Sega CD version was amazing. It was like arcade perfect. Because I think the Super Nintendo only had like one player and you couldn't, like, it was always like limitations with some of their, I'm a big co-op guy.
Me too.
Yeah, like the Double Dragons, the Final, like I remember like there was always a one-player situation. I'm like, where's the second player? What's going on? It's not arcade perfect. But I remember when the Sega CD Final Fight, I was like, yo, that's it. And then you start the incorporation of the music. But then the weird thing is they started this trend with incorporation of full motion video. That was like a craze. Like a lot of full motion video. And it was cool for a moment. So I liked it, but there was a part of me that's like, I don't know if I'm gonna spend all this bread to get it kind of energy. So I just kind of playing it through him. Where for me, where it really came back full circle with Sega, if we're gonna really fast forward, it's probably Dreamcast. Is because what happens is I'm like, these iterations are cool, but Dreamcast really resonated. And that was the Sega, to me, that's peak Sega. That is like, yo, this is what happens when we have the vision, the hardware, They did so many things, and I remember seeing NBA 2K. Soul Calibur was a game changer. Their launch lineup was probably one of the greatest. I think me and Mike Mullis used to argue, like, who had the greatest console launch lineup. And then I think I fronted on Dreamcast at first. And people were like, Carl, you crazy? It's the Dreamcast. So then I sat down, I made the list, and I was like, yo, they had all of this at launch? It was crazy. And then the game to me that really changed me as far as open world, which I've never seen at that time, 3D graphics, just Shenmue, man.
Yes.
Shenmue. There was nothing like Shenmue was so. Let me tell you how great Shenmue was. Shenmue was so impressive. He ready. Let's go. He had to get up on his feet, bro.
Get me off of my feet for this joint right here.
Steel case for 3. I don't got the original. Like you rock it. I think it's my steel case for the 3 joint. You know what I'm saying? But
Ooh, man, look, yo, you over here looking shiny, man. Let me put my stuff down. Jeez,
you got you more official than me. You got OG. You more official. This is part 3, the later joint. But listen, Shenmue. First of all, we came from the Karate Flicks and all that. The difference with Shenmue is, again, I'm a Tekken guy, but I got to be real. Shout out to Yu Suzuki, the AM2 arcade cabinet team. When it came to graphical fidelity, I will not front on Virtua Fighters. Virtua Fighters, from a graphical standpoint, was better looking than Tekken, especially Virtua Fighters 3. So that's that team. Now, Yu Suzuki, now I'm going to make an open world game, which is, nobody ever did anything like that. And I remember we saw the opening sequence. Ryo, going home, and mother's like, "Hell, someone's come. Your father's in trouble." It was a classic, kung fu story. You come in, you seeing your father getting broke down by some real.
Yeah, the dojo's in red alert.
Yes, you know what I'm saying? The dojo's on. Lane D come through, bro, and it was real life. Like you had to get a job. You had a day-night cycle. You had
to be at home at a certain time.
So many NPCs, fully voiced. Never, I'd never seen anything. And then it was
I was writing down phone numbers.
Bro, it was the graphical fidelity. Shout out to KSRT. Yeah, I played that game. It was the graphical fidelity of a Virtua Fighters in a Quest game and then they had regular fighting. They had cinematics. They had QTEs. And it was just full screen, bro, it was mind-blowing what Shenmue was doing. I was just like, I've never seen anything like this. And again, Yu Suzuki, remember, it hits home for me because I told you my origins is Hang On. Like, this is all AM2, all Yu Suzuki. That's why, like one of my, I know we'll get into questions, but he's one of my gaming heroes. At least on my bucket list, I met the man. Like that man is literally responsible for most of the games I love in my life. And Shenmue to me was his peak achievement. There was nothing like that. So Dreamcast had it, and then I'm a sports guy. The 2K series comes out, Virtual Concepts, mind-blowing 3D graphics, amazing simulation style gaming. I'm a fighting game, Soul Calibur, Arcade Perfect. I mean, the list goes on. Crazy Taxi, you name it. The fighting games, Marvel vs.
Grind Radio before Jet, yeah.
Bro, Dreamcast had it. Then they had a unique controller, the VMU, and they had the technology where it's like, okay, you can't see my. Remember, we used to play Madden, like, bro, stop looking at my play, bro. But you had the VMU.
The VMU, yep. There ain't no peeking now.
Bro, Windows CE. A lot of people talk about Microsoft and organic growth. Sega and Microsoft. If Microsoft acquired Sega, like Sega had Windows CE. OS in the damn Dreamcast.
It was on the front. The label was on the front of the Dreamcast.
Bro, Peter Moore, early days. So Dreamcast was my heart. I went so hard. That one broke my heart that it died early because I'm like, quick. that was the system. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was peak Sega for me, no doubt. Dreamcast, no question.
It's crazy. It went from the like a regular heartbeat to a fast heartbeat to just nothing.
No,
it was wild. But yeah, I really love that those times. Marvel versus Capcom, of course, was what was a game that I really loved on the Dreamcast? I'm gonna take
Mm.
you for a
All
ride.
right.
Yeah, yep. I remember that joint. Yep. Oh man,
Yes.
that was
Let's
fantastic. But
go.
yeah, to bring back what you were talking about on Shinmu, bro, walking
Mhm.
around the town and just talking to random people,
Mhm.
walking up to a schoolgirl, and she's like, "Get the hell away from
Away from
me!"
me.
And I was just
I
like, "Oh damn!"
Bro, I forgot the greatest thing that Shimu ever did. How
What's
could I
up?
forget this? We on the sticks right now. I remember finding an arcade in Shenmue
Yep.
to go in Shenmue and play the arcade versions of Hang On and Super Mario and Super Hang On all in the game Super Harry. I'm like, yo,
Yep. They had
they had
Space
emulators.
Harrier in it. Yep.
Us and I'm like, this is insane. But yeah, I forgot about that. Was one of the other greatest parts that blew me away. But
They got
continue.
darts.
Art,
They got
remember the punch game when you had to
yep.
punch the thing?
Yep. There's
Yeah,
like
shut up.
AB. You got to hurry up and
Yep.
hit the two, and then
Yeah,
yeah, that game was fantastic,
mhm.
crazy. I mean, Sega was always ahead
Yes.
of a lot of people, but they just
Mhm.
were mismanaged, unfortunately,
Unfortunately.
into the ground. But anyways,
Mhm.
moving on to
Go,
something
let's
more
go.
positive, because that's what I'm trying to keep it like
I have
over
to.
here. So
Let's go.
obviously the Dreamcast was a big deal, but let's go just a hair.
Oh, what's up? What
Was
do we
the
do?
did the PlayStation bother you a little bit? Like was it around?
Tell you.
Was it really popping before the Dreamcast came through? Because obviously disc games were available.
Mhm.
I.e.
Mhm.
like the Jaguar was around. You got the Sega
Yes.
CD. You got
Mhm.
the Saturn that came
Mhm.
after that.
Mhm.
But the Saturn was really pitted against the PlayStation during that
Correct.
time period. And
Correct.
I'm wondering, as a
Where
Sega guy,
yeah.
where were
Traffic.
you?
Yeah, things got rough for me. Things got rough. My loyalty was tested. My loyalty was tested. I was not living a very wholesome life. I was cheating. I was out here flirting with all these other systems.
There was a
Listen,
lot
this
though. I mean, the 3DO was even outside. Like there's
which
a
I had.
ton of different things to. Would I mean, if you had that, you was balling, bro, because
At
that
that
was an
time,
expensive system.
now Cog started to have a job. Now Cog was getting a little money. But so what happened was this. Genesis probably, you know, top notch for me. Remember, you talked about the 32-bit era. You talked about, you talked about the Genesis expansion era, which is the
Hmm.
32X. I didn't catch on. King went on. I played around with Turbo Graphics for a little bit, which I thought was really cool. I don't want to give props to that. Played around with the handheld for a little bit. I had an Atari Lynx, all that good stuff. But shut up, John
But
Wolfe.
did
Yeah,
you have the
Polly Johnson.
Nomad? Did you have the Nomad?
Of course, I had to know, man. That's GOAT handheld.
The Switch before the Switch that nobody talks about.
Yo, the Nomad straight Genesis cartridge straight through arcade perfect, bro. The Nomad was amazing. You had on John Linneman on your show,
Mm.
and he had one of the most amazing breakdowns of the Nomad. No one talks about it. The Nomad's amazing. I'm glad you brought up the Nomad. Great system. So I'm still finding my way, but then the 32-bit era now kicks off, and I'm like, yo, 3DO, okay, looks cool. I picked it up because I was a big EA guy, I was a big Madden guy. Trip Hawkins sold that system. Graphical fidelity really was a big jump.
He was trying to
They
get that
kind of
Need for
died out.
Speed.
Oh, bro, they had the great Need for Speed. They had the greatest Road Rash I've ever played. Me and Bill Stillwell to this day. That's when me and him became close because it was like that game was absolutely fantastic. They had arcade perfect Street Fighter 2. They had games. They had games. It's just that they died out really quick. So now I'm finding my way. Now here's the problem with Sega. This is where me and Solve really butted heads because I made him a
You talking about, bruh? That's what you talking about right here for that
with the
3DO.
Soundgarden soundtrack, the 3D. Oh, bro, that's the greatest Road Rash to this day. There's no Road Rash better than that. 3DO Road Rash, amazing. That is a hit on that system. That joint. What else? The Total Eclipse game. So many games for 3DO. 3DO had games. Don't get me wrong. It just died out so fast. So anyway, we moving on, and I'm like, okay, 3DO's out of here. I wasn't really. I saw Jaguar. My man had it. And I was like, 64 bits or what? Like, I just didn't see it. I was like, I mean, they had a launch game called Cybermorph. And I was like, this ain't it. Like, when your man bring over the console, yo, check it out. We was trying not to laugh because I was like, damn, this don't look good. I would not have bought this, but hey, as long as he happy. And then I remember when me and King left his crib, we was like, yo, he was like, nah, that ain't it. So Jaguar was out. Now Saturn comes on. Saturn was there before, but again, they were in a 2D pocket. And I remember hearing about PlayStation. And I'm just like, okay, Sony, they about to do a console. I like Sony. They like their products. They cool. Remember this, Sony TVs, the Walkmans, they're hot out in these streets.
Right.
But what happened is we hear
they
they're
that
going to do
anti-skip, bro.
Yeah. Like, you hear they were going to do a console with Nintendo that it don't work out. And then you hear about PlayStation. So I remember seeing it, and I remember seeing like a demo disc or something. And I remember seeing Ridge Racer. And I go, oh. And again, remember I talked about that jump with Super Nintendo Mode 7? When I saw Ridge Racer and PlayStation 30-bit graphics with that 3D engine, I'm like, whoa, this is different. And for me, I remember Battle Arena to Shinden 3D fighting game. Amazing. Yes. But for me, I'm still tied to the arcade. Tekken is my favorite arcade game. And they had Tekken arcade. Perfect. Like there was, and this is 3D. This is high fidelity. And I remembered researching at the time, the arcade board was
crazy ass,
all with the crazy flat top. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they had bears in it. They had all type of wild stuff in it. And I remember saying it was called the System 11 board. Bandai Namco had the System 11 board in the arcade. The PlayStation architecture was the System 11 inside of it. So I knew at that, I'm like, yo, this is actually arcade perfect. And the key, which was the difference for me, was not only that when it came home, they added more stuff to it. They added cinemas and stories and bosses. And I'm like, yo, it's all the bells, all the whistles. But you got that. You got Ballerina to Shinden. There was a game called Jumping Flash that was 3D. They were just experimenting and trying different things. And bro, like PlayStation, I remember seeing it and was blown away. I was like, oh, I'm getting one of these. And I ain't gonna front him. Like, I was looking at that Sega Saturn, and I was like, nah, you're not doing that. Like, nah, I'm over here. Like, that's not it. Like, I was cheating on Sega. I was like, bruh, I'm sorry, but you see this right here? You tell me this ain't fire, the games I'm playing. And I just didn't like the direction Saturn was going. So I betrayed Sega. I literally was cheating on Sega. And I was in a full open relationship with PlayStation.
I ain't mad at you because I was doing the same thing, bro.
It is what it was.
I didn't even bother with the Saturn. I went because I was a youngin' at the time, right? So I wasn't buying my consoles. It was my stepfather at the time. He had the original PlayStation on the big screen tube TV that took folk people to carry. And with the surround sound, you go ahead, hit that green power, that gray with the green letter power button, and boom, that whole room exploded, right? And that splash screen for the PlayStation was just legendary. Right.
Yes.
And then it cuts to the black PlayStation logo and everything like that.
Yep.
And the first game I played the same as you, or I believe Ridge Racer, right? Racer. Yeah, man, seeing that game was insane, and being like, man, I feel like I can't turn in this game compared to like other games where it was like over steering.
Good point. Yes, good point.
This game, you actually had to use the brakes. Right. I'm because I come from a game like Road Rash and stuff like that, where it's like if you hit the brakes, you losing.
Yes, correct. You had to keep going.
So
absolutely.
So that game actually, gave me like, okay, this is what racing should be, even though this feels like some BS because I'm getting tossed.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, got a little bit older, Gran Turismo, bro.
Oh God.
Gran Turismo came out. I didn't go outside for a while.
Photorealistic car. Like it got to the point when you would watch the replays, be like, yo, that look real. That look real. Like photorealistic graphics. Yo, Gran Turismo don't get its flowers. I remember playing that game, trying to get every license. Remember when you had to get the A
Mhm.
license and all of
You
that?
gotta get the A license, the S
Oh,
license. Oh
yes,
man, like the
bro,
B license. Just to compete, you had to get licenses.
bro, play
Because you do a few of those free races, you would grind and get like 1,000 credits
facts,
for
facts.
like the best free race, and you would do that like
Mhm.
50 times,
Time,
man.
bro.
Until you could buy pieces to put together in your car. So then once you did the license, you can go right into the race and get nasty with it.
Mhm, mhm.
And yeah, man,
Classic,
that that
classic.
that that game was absolutely fantastic. That Twisted Metal was really big for me back in
Ooh,
those times, man. Twisted
huge.
Metal was especially Twisted Metal 2. Twisted Metal 1 was cool. Twisted Metal 2 was the jump off.
Yeah,
Twisted
shout out
Metal
to
3 was slightly better. Twisted Metal 4 was probably my favorite with Mum Buggy.
Shout out to Jaffe, man. He's
Mm,
a legend. We had him on and just talking those stories. For me, also, Joanna Dexter's bag, Resident Evil, the first one. Never seen anything like that. Shinji Mikami, this is his baby. And I remember, again, 3D graphics. They moved like a tank, but they had those pre-rendered backgrounds that was so graphically realistic. And you were stuck with the angles where you would come through with how you would face, but it added to the tension of the horror game, the zombies and the jumping through the dogs, the dogs jumping through the window jump scares.
hmm
Metal Gear Solid was another one. Early Kojima in his bag. Which is when games start to feel like movies. Like you're just like,
Right.
yo, this is different. PlayStation was on it. They had the sports as well.
It
Like
seemed unreal because the previous generation, like, as you said, a lot of side scrolling
that's
or just
3D.
going forward.
Absolutely. They took the 3D space to the next level. And that's why I was like, say until Dreamcast, Dreamcast was over at that point, but you know, prior to that, it was the next evolution from a technical standpoint. You felt it. You felt this is something different. And yeah, I was in that PlayStation ecosystem heavy. PlayStation 1 is probably my favorite PlayStation. I know people like 2 is their gold and 4. I get it. But 1 to me represented Sony's, hey, I'm here. I'm aggressive. We don't need Nintendo. And look at us. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Crash Bandicoot outside energy. You know what I'm saying? Like it was they were I was like you could literally people say I was at one point. I was a Sony fan. I was riding hard for Sony at one point.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's where it went from there. And obviously we transition, but Xbox comes into the picture. But at that point, PlayStation 1, I was like, that was peak for a while for me.
So now this makes it extra interesting because the next thing I want to bring up, which before I continue on, I just want to shout out to Back from the Dead in the
Yes.
chat. He said PS1 for me was or no, he said it earlier. He said I was more into Need for Speed than Gran
Mm,
Turismo, and I feel that I remember playing with the El Nino. Remember that crazy ass car, the fake car
yes.
that everybody thought was
Big J.
real.
Real. Yes. Yo, let's go.
Yes,
Mhm.
man, that
Right.
car was wild. But anyways,
Mhm.
continuing on, I thought this was a fantastic way to segue into kind of the argument between the PlayStation 2 and the Dreamcast, right?
Go.
Because
Go.
now Sega got your attention again.
Back. I'm
They're
back. Like I ain't
back.
left.
like, like,
Like,
like, like, like,
hey,
like, yeah, you was cheating. And she went
yeah.
to the gym. She's been hitting
Hey,
some licks.
oh,
She got
bro.
all that cash, and she came back
Yes.
like,
Yeah,
like,
remember me?
yeah, yeah. Remember me? What you doing?
I'm sorry, Junior. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back now. I'm back. Listen.
You ran to the
I
store,
meant
grab
to
some
be quick.
flowers.
Oh, yeah, I remember B. Remember that I still like. Yeah, Dreamcast was outside. Yes, and then what it is also where they got me was kind of the early evolutions of online gaming, right? Even though it was the modem, we had the 33.6 little attachment in the back, the early stages. I mean, Genesis did have like X-Band and stuff like that, but this was where they really started to try it. And yeah, like it was technically sound, graphics were phenomenal, launch lineup was amazing, so many good games. And yeah, it just again, it was just sad that it died. It didn't last as long as it should, and the PlayStation eventually did come, but Dreamcast, man, spectacular.
Were you ride or die for Dreamcast, like
Mhm.
to the detriment of the PlayStation 2? Because that's how I was. I was holding onto the Dreamcast. I didn't even know it died. right? Because I was too young and
Mm.
I wasn't paying too much attention. I mean,
Mhm.
I was a Game Informer kid, sure. I
Mhm.
had me
I
some
got
Game Informers. I'd look, but I more or less use those to look up game scores
you.
and
Right.
just look up the games I was interested in. I wasn't really looking at it to like see what was going on in the industry.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
s-
Go
yeah.
ahead.
So go ahead.
No, it was one of those things where I was knowledgeable of what was going on. I had so much fun, but then there was a period I remember it was just kind of like a slowdown. It was just like not a lot was coming out for it anymore. And PlayStation 2 was announced and yeah, like I remember like standing out online with King at a Sony official Sony store in downtown New York City. They had a demo of PlayStation 2. And again, we started to see that jump. And Madden was surprisingly the game. I remember seeing Madden. I'm like, it was fully 3D, big sprites, and I'm just like, oh, this is different. And I remember again, I think Tekken Tag Tournament was a launch title, which they had me there, the Ridge Racer, and I'm just like, man. And the key also was remember DVDs weren't prevalent. No, there was no dedicated DVD player like that. So a lot of it came down to, yo, not only is it a great console, but it also is your de facto DVD player for free. So they got you into that type of an ecosystem.
Yeah, it's a
And
3-in-1 now. It plays CDs, DVDs, and your games.
absolutely. So it was just this trifecta, and they just had the software support, man. They just had it, and so many great games. So yeah, that's when the shift happened again, and I was just like, "Damn, Dreamcast, what's going on?" But it just it as hardcore as it came in, it was how quickly it just kind of died. And it wasn't because of the games themselves. It just to me became the support, and that's where it was just like, okay, PlayStation got it.
So PlayStation then took your attention and you were
Mhm.
getting into all sorts of different types of games on there. But then soon after, a shot was fired and
Oh yeah.
Microsoft came
Oh,
into the building. I want
yeah.
you to tell me what it was like for you acknowledging Microsoft as a gaming console instead of a PC kind of
Good point.
gaming centric place. Because I mean, so when I was young, before Xbox came out, I was playing, or maybe it was during, yeah, it was during the Xbox. But I was playing on my PC before I actually owned an Xbox. I had Max Payne for my PC, Flight
Sure.
Simulator for my PC,
Mhm.
and various other games as well. Um, so I didn't really understand when I seen the Xbox. I was just like, why? I was very much like what people say nowadays. I got a PC. What do I need that for? I got an Xbox, or
Yeah.
I got a PlayStation 2 and a PC. I'm good to go. I was that little kid saying that kind of stuff
Mhm.
because I was a big PlayStation fan back in that time.
Mm.
I want you to tell me, how did Xbox get caught?
Oh, yeah.
Was it the
It's
first Xbox? Was it 360? Was it later on down the line?
Richard shout to K Asante, we about to talk because he's an OG Xbox fan like me. Here's
Facts.
the thing. I was just like you, Ham, in the sense like you hear Microsoft's making a console. At the time, it sounded unheard of because it's like they're the Windows guys, there's the PC guys. Like they don't know gaming.
What, they
Like
can't have
it's
solitaire on here? I'm good.
exactly just yeah, Minesweeper. Like what are we gonna be doing? You know what I'm saying? So it's like it just seemed weird that they were in there. And I was just like, I remember I ain't gonna front, I was low key clowning like when I heard about it. I was like, you ain't messing with no Microsoft console, please. Like I was on that type of time. So it was a gradual thing because then you start to hear more about it. You start about hearing what they're gonna do. And at the time I found out what the terminology killer app meant. Because I was like, yo, they got I remember people like, but then I remember, yo, they got a killer app called Halo. And I'm like, killer app, Halo. Everyone's talking about this Halo, Halo. And still, I was fronting. I remember seeing the game magazines and people like, yo, Halo. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Where it really started to come full circle for me, again, born and raised South Bronx, New York City, my birthday is November 15th.
Mm.
So not only does the system launch on my birthday, it launches in New York City, and Bill Gates and The Rock are here to debut the system.
Mm.
And you get a chance to play Halo. And
And I'm guessing you were a wrestling fan at that time, like many of us was.
wasn't
Attitude
at that
Era. You weren't?
Attitude Era. Yeah, heavy,
Okay,
heavy.
there we go.
I used
Yeah.
Bro, I used to follow wrestling from the 80s and all the different to the Monday Night Wars with Raw Attitude Era, what's going on with WCW, NWO era. Like I mean, all that stuff was
WCW spoiling
spoiling this.
WWE.
Right? Yo, they did this, but come watch us tonight.
Right?
I'm
It's so
like, yo,
disrespectful.
the disrespect. And then it got to the point like it was like free agency, who's gonna show up on WCW that they took, and then the Attitude Era, and the Rock, and oh man, so many memories. So wrestling was huge. Shout out to N64. I didn't give them their flowers though. N64 had the greatest wrestling games. I ain't gonna front, and that was the only reason
No
why I had that
mercy.
console. No mercy. I got to give Nintendo their flowers. 64. And I didn't really rock with GameCube outside of like the Resident Evil stuff and all of that. They had some really good ports, but I would have to give them the wrestling games. But anyway, moving forward. So we get to this whole event and the launch event in my city, Microsoft. And it was seeing Halo. And again, I'm not a PC gamer. From my understanding, viewing a first person shooter was they would say it was impossible to do on console. It's not going to have the feel. And that game changed the mold. It changed everything. And for me, the seller was, I remember, what is it? What's the name of this? I'm always butchering the name. I always butcher the Gears of War weapon and the ship in Halo. One is the like pillar of something, and the other one is something of autumn. I always butcher those names, but y'all know what I'm saying. The ship on Halo, when you start, you get out as Master Chief. The graphical fidelity, moving smooth. And then the aliens board, there's an invasion. You got the grunts, you got the elites. But the key for me was two things. King and I know this very well. You press the black and the white camera button. Remember the camera buttons on the Xbox Duke controller?
Mm-hmm.
And the light from Master Chief would illuminate the hallway. And I'm like, oh, never seen anything like this. This is light source and this. Okay, cool. You go. I'm used to shoot the enemy. You supposed to stay there and get shot. Like the AI is like, no, we're not trying to get shot. Like the AI, I'm like, yo, it's smart. They would double back. They would only press when they had the advantage. They throw grenades. I'm like, yo, I'm not used to this level of enemy AI intelligence to respond to me. That was the key. Then you get out. And Halo was just amazing. You hit the Halo rings and stuff. But the thing for me, as I forget as well, was like, I see a Warhog, you jump in, the camera goes to third person, you see Master Chief, then you got soldiers with you, and they have their own AI routine. The sandbox was just mind-blowing. The music, amazing. You listen, there's always a key thing for me with a great game. Think about most of the games that you love. Pillar of Autumn, thank you guys. Most of the games you love have some of the greatest title screen music. Think about that. Most games that everyone could say, you heard, oh, what is happening? This is Gregorian, like this is insane to me. The music and you're like, yo, I feel like I'm something special. Like this is the greatest game I've ever played. Then on top of all of this great single player gloriousness, then they like, yo, there's a multiplayer mode. All right, try it. It's like, yo, you can play with your friends. If your man got an Xbox and he got it, and we all had Xboxes because of that game. And I'm just like, bro, this is what I got into IT. Literally, I became a makeshift. I'm going to learn. There's a way for us to play in the same house with all, we can have up to, 12 people or whatever. Bro, I had dudes in the hood buying TVs, Halos. I learned what a Linksys router was. I learned what a Cat5 Ethernet cable was. And I made a makeshift network in my crib. And I had everybody bring their TV. And we was playing Halo with our own separate screens. Deathmatch, Blood Gulch, you hang them high, you name it. Hours upon hours of fun. I've never played anything like that. I was just like, this is the greatest game I've ever played. Like this game right here, because it just had so much replay value. So yeah, Halo, it was just epic. It was nothing like it. And then you talk about, launch, they had Dead or Alive. And then here's the key, what really sealed the deal for Xbox for me. Remember, we talked about them Sega love, that Sega ties. it felt like the spiritual successor. You had the Shenmue 2 over there. You had the Panzer, like you had the Sega games now funneling over to to Xbox. And my Sega was dead. We were orphans. Think about it. Our parent died. Sega died. We didn't have any place to go. So I'm over here with PlayStation, but spiritually, I'm a Sega kid. Spiritually. So it's like Xbox represented all the Sega stuff as well. Then you talk about tech. If you love tech, shout out to KSI, he preached it in the chat. If you love tech, there's no way you don't love Xbox, because at the end of the day, they had a hard drive in the console, so much storage space. They had an Ethernet port.
I don't know anybody that ran out of space.
Bro, I learned about custom soundtracks. I remember ripping CDs into my Xbox to play the game music that I want to play. Wu-Tang while I'm driving Project Gotham Racing Joanna Dog. I'm playing Wu-Tang when I'm doing, like, it was that. And then this is when they really got me. You talk about all this technological stuff. You talk about one of the greatest launch games of all time with Halo. Where they really got me is, I remember we're launching this thing called Xbox Live, and we're sending out alpha codes, and you can play online. And I'm like, play online, all right. But I was like, wait a minute, broadband, they got Ethernet, so that speed should be lit, don't lag. So I'm like, shout out to KSI. Yeah, Xbox started my tech career too. Facts. So I sat there, I'm like, wait a minute, this could be special, because we talk about the highest speed. And this was like really advanced at the time. Most houses had AOL. Yeah, like most you had to be balled a little bit to have that Ethernet and that, you know what I mean? So I was like, all right, I had a little money.
You can't be messing with them AOL discs. You can't be messing
You can't be messing with that crackling modem. You can't be doing that.
That net zero, you got to get up out of here.
Earthquake ain't gonna do it. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, yo, I could game online at the highest level with them. Let me try it out. Signed up. I was an Xbox Alpha, not beta, Alpha tester. I had the little came with the little disc, I had the little cheap little headset with the one thing. And the game I remember was Ghost Recon. And I threw it on. And I remember somebody was like, hey, mate. And I'm like, where you from? Like, almost. I'm like, yo, like, they from a whole nother country. Oh, I talked to somebody. I'm making friends all over the world. And then the other game for me was, no, it's not really a classic, but it meant a lot to me. It's this game called MotoGP. And MotoGP, practically this amazing racing game. So
there's a leaner,
you know what I'm saying? Remember, think about, I'm the hang-on kid, right? I think I'm the hang-on kid. And you got that. Then I could put my own music to it with the custom soundtracks. But we talk about the fighting games and Dead or Alive. You're talking about Jada. Like, they had it. And again, it's one of those situations where you saw the potential. Now, I know Xbox, the OG, doesn't get the credit it does because of the, it didn't last as long as the other Xbox consoles. But it was so aggressive with that DirectX team. I highly advise people to watch the Power On documentary. It's absolutely amazing. And they were just so aggressive out the gate of their vision and forward facing and what they wanted Xbox to be, that they fought for. And it literally, think about it, it has set up what modern gaming is, which is hard. Like, we all have hard drives in our consoles. We all have Ethernet in the back of the box. And, Xbox Live, let's be real, was the de facto service, having a friends list, knowing what that is, gamer achievements. And it really started off an era. And Xbox at that point, and then on top of it was more superior to the PlayStation at the time. Graphically, it was a better tech powerhouse. So you had all of that stuff. And, it was just so much you could do with it. It was customizable. You could take it apart. You could do so much with it.
You remember how long those load screens for Grand Theft Auto 3, San Andreas, or Vice City used to take on PlayStation? And then you go to turn on your Xbox, and it was like, it wasn't instantaneous, but it was like a third of the time.
Facts.
Or at least it felt like it. And then on top of it, like me growing up with my PlayStation, I was big into sound. I was big into music and everything like that. I was the guy that, plugged the VCR into the coax, right? So I can get the 3 inputs instead of having the two that was maybe available, being the like white and yellow like in front of the TV. I was like, I wanted to get left and right sound, so I need to plug into this VCR into the coax and get it going. I used to plug in the yellow cable from the PlayStation, the white cable from the PlayStation, and then the red player, and then the red hookup from my sound system. So I'd be able to hear music as if I was in the game, and the game had music that I wanted to listen to on it. Xbox said, "Hold my beer. I got you. You don't have to make this fake game sound going on. We can hit you with the real." So when I went over to my boy's house and he had Conflict Desert Storm on, right? Yeah. And we're running in the sand, and he's like, and I'm like, this game's cool, but it's on PlayStation as well. So what? And he's like, hold up a second. He hit pause, went down to the music area, hit a couple tracks, and then hit start. And he is just like, hold up a quick second. Dun 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 dun. And I'm like, wait a second, this is Tupac Better Days. What's happening here?
How you got the Pac up in here? How you do that?
yeah. I was like, what stereo player are you playing this on? He's like, no, man, this is through the Xbox. I ripped the whole CD onto this thing. I was like, no. Bro had BG on there. He had the Hot Boys. Man, he had all the joints on his Xbox, and we literally sat there and beat the game and was listening to fantastic music the entire time, bro. I'm telling you, it was insane.
I spent so much time ripping CDs into my Xbox more than it, bro. You're right. I also want to give some flowers to Splinter Cell. Boy, I never seen anything like that, because again, I love Metal Gear, and Metal Gear had that kind of cinematic storytelling, but the difference was Splinter Cell was true stealth, and they had a light and dark system with the light sourcing where if you hid in the dark, you were truly not seen by the enemy. And that was mind blowing to me. That was like early Ubisoft, and obviously Michael Ironside or The Voice, and it was just an iconic spy espionage game. And I don't think Splinter Cell gets the flowers it deserves for debuting on Xbox. And I'm still mad at Xbox. Like, y'all need to get that secured.
It was like Xbox's Metal Gear.
Yes, it was the answer. And I'm a guy that loves pure stealth. I come from, the Tenchus and all that. And to me, that was true military stealth and tactics, and the silencer hanging from the wall, the splits. Like, Splinter Cell did that, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Xbox has some really unique titles. They were aggressive in the space and attack, and I absolutely love that console. I played that, and that's the start of, okay, Xbox Live really took it to the next level. That's the start of everything, and then obviously we transitioned to the 360, and that's when it was just like, okay, I'm all in now. Like,
all right, so that's actually where I'm going. That's actually where I'm going with the next part. Is I'm wondering now, 360 comes out first, right? Comes out as a better price. It didn't have the Blu-ray; it had the HD player, right? That died fairly quick.
Yeah, I still got my HD DVD. So I still got it.
I like how you took a sigh as you were saying that. You're like, ugh.
You picked the losing format.
I got this dead ass piece of hardware. Right. But like, so the 360 came out throwing punches immediately. Before PlayStation could even get on the stage, it was already throwing punches out there. PlayStation finally comes out with the PS3. Yes, it's more expensive, but it has, the whole 1080p. It has the HDMI. It has the Blu-ray on it. It has all this, fairly cool stuff. But the one key thing that it's missing is a good online, like Xbox Live kind of addition to it. Like it had online capabilities and all that jazz, but it did not have the community type aspect to it. It had a very like single player-y feel to it.
Agreed.
So I want to know from you, like, how was it looking because I'm assuming you got your Xbox first.
Yes, absolutely.
How was it looking over and saying, PlayStation, you didn't get me this time?
Yeah, that's when I betrayed PlayStation. I was like,
nah, you cheating on everything, man.
Listen, man. shorty right here. Like, come on, and the Sega ties. And like, bro, like, and the power. And I'm just like, yo, here's the thing. 360 was so aggressive out the gate. You had I remember seeing the console and it had like almost like an Apple kind of design. It was white, it had that little curvature a little bit. And I was like, it's a cool piece of tech. And I remember firing it up and I'm like, okay, launch lineup pretty strong. Halo wasn't ready at launch,
Mm-mm.
but like I remember hearing, about we're talking killer app again, right? And remember hearing about Gears of War. And I ain't gonna front. Like I've never seen anything like Unreal Engine at that time. The big, massive sprites, the roadie run, the chainsaw, and this was next level. Again, we're talking about significant jumps in graphical fidelity. We're talking about game changers. Gears of War was that, and I remember I'm like, they got
Proper
they got
controls with gun games too.
that's
Thank goodness.
absolutely. It was amazing, and all their titles were just like I'm jealous. And this man is loyal to no. Listen, man. If listen, you treat me right. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't gonna hold you, PlayStation. I was like, I love you, but you ain't doing this. Like this is. And then here's the thing: I'm such a social person by nature. So now we're just talking about from a pure UI standpoint, the system blades of the 360, right? The organization, the friends list. Remember the zones? I'm in the underground. I'm in the pro zone. Like
Mhm.
they would they would take an Xbox to the next level. So you got a robust Xbox Live. Remember they even had a camera. That was funny. We get into that, but it was just like so many advancements. You know what I'm saying? The things that you could do. And again,
Like
when I got
USB
the
plugins to be able to plug in other accessories to it other than just your controller.
absolutely. So
I had
you
a
got
terabyte
all of
plugged into mine.
everybody plugged in. You had all this stuff, the Xbox Live Arcade. You had the 1 vs. 100. You had like it. And then let's be real. And this is another thing Xbox doesn't get enough credit for. They became now the all-in-one media center for your house because now you have Netflix. Now you have, okay, Asante, that camera Uno was scandalous. I know about that camera Uno. I know about that Uno After Dark on 360. If you know, you know. But I'm going to leave that alone. But at the end of the day, like they had it. And it was just like the media aspects. Remember, Netflix debuted on 360. I remember a version
Netflix
of
and
Netflix.
chill for real
Yeah,
back then.
bro, avatars, the virtual representation of yourself in a game, sitting there in the theater watching. I know why Netflix did this because technically we was all able to watch one movie on one account in that, in the joint and one person control. It was so dope, so cool. And like, yo, bro, like that was peak Xbox. Like, and then you're talking about the Halos, the Gears, the Grand Theft, the exclusives, then the Call of Duty era. Let's not want to talk about Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, all that stuff changed the game. 60 frames per second. I was like, I felt something was different. I was like, why is it moving so fast? Like, what? 60 frames per second in a game, Infinity Ward. They had it, man. And like I said, I tried to rock with PlayStation. I picked it up. But I was just like, not taking it online serious. Like you said, it's just
I didn't even pick it up. I was just like, I'm Xbox. I'm done.
I
I'm good.
feel you. I picked it up because as a gamer, I'm like, I gotta have it. But I go for it. Took me. My PS3 didn't get a lot of burn until the end of the cycle. Last of Us, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was just Xbox all day. They was the wave. There was just no stopping the tidal wave. And you had Peter Moore, you had the exclusives, the Grand Theft Autos. Then the rise of Bethesda. Remember, people don't understand. Like, I got into RPGs because of Xbox. Oh, shout out to the original OG Xbox, Morrowind. People want to
Yep.
talk about organic growth. Microsoft was there from the beginning with a working relationship with Bethesda to bring their games to console. So now
Same
you
thing
got
with
that.
Obsidian too.
Same thing, they were there. Like people who say all this is just buying, buying, buying. No, there's some that are really organic. They've had these relationships. Now you fast forward to 360.
I was thinking
You
of
got
Oblivion, not Obsidian. Oblivion.
bro, Oblivion. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? And that is when I'm like, oh, there's nothing like this. This is a Western RPG with all these systems and like factions. It was just amazing choice. And here's the kicker. The PlayStation versions did not run well at all. And some of
Shout
them
out
skipped
to ESPN 2K5 as well. Do you
2K5.
remember that?
Bro,
You go to halftime, you see pictures.
pictures
What are
and all
these
that.
pictures? On
Bro, and then you
Xbox, you
talk
get the whole play.
whole play. Bro, you talk about that, the sports game, you talk about the Mass Effect series, and it just continues all these great games that really debut on, Xbox. And it was just they had it, man. It was just a wave. It was to me, it was nothing PlayStation could do at that time with the three that was going to get me to move off of the 360. 360, it was peak Xbox for me.
Mm. Yep.
Mhm.
It really was. I mean, so many fantastic games that came on it. So many of them ran really well
Yes.
as well. The accessories that you could plug into it. Like I said, I had the Terabyte on it that had a ton of
Mhm.
music on it, and which
Mhm.
I was able to play and listen to while I was playing my games.
Yeah.
Um, I had movies, TV shows up on there. And then
Mhm.
just being able to get with the community and play fairly easily, jump into people's parties, jump into people's games.
Energy
Invites
so
were simple and not like
yes.
dug into the console, hard to find. It would just pop up
Yep.
on your screen and you're there.
Ease of
Um,
access to user. And I do want to give flowers. I know it gets a lot of crap, but the initial version of Connect on 360 actually did well. And I actually had it. The tech was impressive. And they had it actually sold extremely well. But they actually had some games that I was like, you know what, this is really cool.
they just leaned
And
on it too hard.
it leaned on it too hard for the subsequent generation. But the initial vision, I actually was a Connect fan on 360. I didn't have any problems with it. It's just that what they definitely went all the way with it, and I get why they did it for the user base. They didn't want the it to be split between the haves and the have-nots. And from a development standpoint, I get it, but it was just a little too aggressive. But Xbox, again, example of them being ahead of their time with technology, because as much as people complain now, we got Siri, we got all this other stuff that's talking to you, and what I'm saying, cameras and all that other stuff. So it's kind of interesting how the digital era did advance that way.
It's crazy how the Kinect is being used now for medical
Mhm.
purposes and stuff like that. I
Yeah,
find that
yeah.
crazy that
Mhm.
they pretty much recycled that into something useful for
Yes.
somebody else, since it wasn't useful for us fans
Yeah,
as much
exactly.
anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, it sounds working out as a few other things. That's about it. No
um,
doubt.
so so the PlayStation 3 had a slow start for you. It ended up
Mhm.
being pretty good towards the end of the generation, like many others. I've
Mhm.
heard that story very many times, and which just goes to tell
Yeah.
you that it's very true. Had a
Yes.
slow start, but it ended up finishing fairly well.
Mhm.
Now we're into the Xbox One and
Mm,
PS4 generation. In
mhm.
my opinion, Xbox One came out looking strong.
Felt so too.
Titanfall, fantastic. Rise, Son of Rome,
It's time.
fantastic
It's
as
time.
well.
Okay. Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I was a really big fan. I got Destiny originally on my Xbox first.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I want to know from you what your thought process was at the beginning of the generation of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One,
Mhm.
and then how you were feeling at the end of the generation, including messaging.
Oh yeah, yeah. We gonna go there. Look, PlayStation, Xbox, again, we talked about the 360, PS4, and I mean PS3 ended strong, but the Xbox coming into the Xbox One era, I felt they had more momentum coming in based on the success of the last console. What we hear about is even the third party developers was like, yeah, we expected Xbox to be the leader. The problem was how aggressive they were with the multimedia, the television aspect, and things of that nature. I remember watching the press conference, and I'm just like, okay, they definitely go hard with the TV stuff. I wasn't as disgusted as everybody though. Everybody was like really disgusted, like we don't like all this. And to me, I'm just like, well, it is kind of the natural evolution. I remember they talk about a Halo show. They would talk about the quantum break stuff, and I'm like, all right. To me though, I didn't really get caught up with the negativity about that. I got caught up more so with the Xbox One game showcase, because my thing is like, yo, y'all complaining, but this ain't even the game showcase. I want to see what games they got for it, right? Then I'm gonna make my judgment as if this is, bro. I watched that game showcase and I was like, I'm in. Like, I'm not going to front. When I saw Rise, Son of Rome, Marius Titan get off the ship, there's like the hugest sprites graphically I've ever seen of Centurions. You know, this cinematic production value, like a movie. Like it was just insane to me how that game looked. And I'm like, yo,
Cannons going off, things
it's all
exploding,
few shit.
people
I'm like,
dying.
in the visceral nature. And I'm like, yo, this is next level. I remember seeing Dead Rising 3, all the zombies on the screen in the open world. And I remember I'm like, yo, that looked impressive. And like, obviously, they have Forza at launch. And I remember I saw the PlayStation drop. I think they had Killzone. Which are cool. You know,
Knack.
they had Knack. And so I was like, all right. They had a bunch of indies. And I'm gonna be honest, like I picked up the PlayStation 4 as a gamer, but I was like, I think the Xbox One at launch was way more impressive. I've always stated that. I felt when it comes to a pure game standpoint, the issue just came down to the messaging because we remember that fateful press conference, and what happened was they basically did a terrible job of explaining how the digital online future was going to be. And it was too many questions. We didn't understand. Do I own my games? Do I not own my? But the
The
key, what killed
DRM, man.
was
Yeah.
DRM. Because what happened is people like, yo, I can't play used games. What? What's going like? Oh no. Xbox, what are you doing? Like I gotta then oh it
That
has
was
to
like
be
the height of EB Games and GameStop and
stop.
Software Etc. and all those places. That was the height of those where it was just
Oh,
like GameStop at that point was just starting to say we're done with super old stuff now.
yes.
And
Yes.
and then Xbox comes outside right after GameStop says that type of stuff and says, "Yo, you once you buy your game, it's yours, and there's nothing you can do about it." So then it's just like I grew up trading my stuff in to get the next
To
thing.
get the next thing. Facts.
You take that away from people, and you're pretty much taking a ton of value away from yourself.
Absolutely. And shout out to PlayStation. They pounced on this PR weakness
This is how you share
like
games.
none other. Bro, I never forget because people forget. PlayStation had the same policy and DRM mindset. They just didn't announce it yet. So as the fateful day goes, the E3 conference, Xbox goes first in the morning, whatever time, like 10, 12 o'clock, whatever it was Eastern. And then PlayStation, because of Japanese time, they would probably do their press conference like 5, 6 p.m. Eastern. Me and King sat there. We saw the Xbox One showcase. We saw the negative reaction based on the DRM and the always online digital future policies. What then happens is PlayStation says, hey, our normal time is it's going to get delayed. The story goes they were in the process. Can we remove the DRM? Can we get rid of this camera? Because no one likes it on Xbox. And they priced it competitively. They took the stuff out. They hit the price point for a cheaper price point, and it actually was more powerful. At that point, it was game over. It was a downhill spiral for the Xbox One from the moment it was conceived because they literally hit them with the double whammy. But to your point, when the game system actually came out, I actually enjoyed it. I thought that the Kinect was
The
way
snap
superior version.
feature was the best thing. I gotta close my eyes when I say this because it's just so good. I'm very angry that I do not have Snap to this day.
Playing games, and I have like ESPN on the right, watching whatever I
Watching
want to
Monday
watch.
Night Football, bro.
And then,
Let's go.
or you could have. Remember, they had the one guide where you can put your cable box TV, and you could have your show. Like, bro, it was. Listen, the problem with Xbox is the good thing about Xbox is that they're always, if you're a techie, you can love them because of their advancements. The bad thing about Xbox sometimes they're too ahead of their time or they're too aggressive, and I think that's what did them in. So that's pretty much what it was. It was knockout from the how you trade games, and then that's when the rise of the Sony bangers starts, right? You know, the Spider-Mans, the Final Fantasies, the God of Wars, just these amazing cinematics.
Yeah, that's them twisting the knife.
Yeah, and it was over. And then you learned about, Xbox, how come there's no... Oh, I'll give Titanfall. I got to give Titanfall its flowers, though. Titanfall 1 changed the game. Again, out that launch window, not too far from it, they had the games, but what ended up happening was a slowdown. And then you realize, okay, how come we're not getting a sequel to this? How come we not get? They didn't have any ownership, and then they just couldn't compete with PlayStation on pure games, just period.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, flat
Mhm,
out. That's the truth right there.
mhm,
So now the end of this generation is,
mhm,
and you hit all those topics. You had both consoles and whatnot. You're getting into content creation and all that stuff, right?
mhm,
Um, as a content creator,
mhm.
were you ever lenient onto any particular platform during this later period of Xbox One and PlayStation?
Well, yeah, I was still Xbox, we still because again, we people PlayStation fans ask me like, "Yo, how come you still stayed with Xbox as opposed to you kind of grift, you kind of?" And I said, "You know what it is? I love the ecosystem.
Facts.
The ecosystem and the UI. And again, we talked about friendliness. I just developed so many friends as well as again, I just love the ecosystem. I love the technological advancements that Xbox makes. So the platform, I became the fan of the platform from a technical standpoint. And they still had games and things that I liked. So I'm like, okay, cool. So that when it came to content creation, that's when again we talked about the addict stories and stuff like that. Like I would just meet people and they'd be like, "Hey, we like talking games with you." Or hey, the Lords when you guys are in a party chat, it's so much fun. And that's how really IOP kind of evolved because it's those Xbox Live party chats, late night, having fun, 12 people in there bugging out. We're all gaming, we talking that talk, you know what I'm saying, to each other, if we beating each other in games or just having fun, and I think that energy, people would tell me like, "Yo, I need to do a podcast," that kind of thing. So I think from a platform standpoint, Xbox is always going to have those preferences, but to Saab's standpoint, we still like those single player, you know, immersive kind of experiences. But I think initially us all being fans of Xbox and Xbox Live probably was kind of what gave it a foundation from the party chats.
Gotcha. We got about 20 minutes left, you guys. I want to keep this time kind of tight
Yes, yes.
because I want, as you say on your show, I want to respect your time. And
Especially.
and I also gotta get ready to pick up my daughter from school and
Let's
stuff
go.
like that. So
Sure.
real life things need to be going down here shortly. But before I get into that, I gotta ask you about this current generation, which
Yes.
is PS5. I'm gonna leave the Switch out of this
No doubt.
specifically because I want your thoughts to be very specific.
Yeah.
So PS5 drops, Xbox
Mhm,
Series consoles drop.
mhm,
When you see the Series S coming out
mhm,
and you see that there's, the Series X and then you see the PlayStation 5 is just the one thing, right? There
mhm,
is no
mhm.
difference in power. There's only digital and a physical version, right? So you see that. Do you get nervous at all for Xbox at the beginning of the generation, seeing that there are two SKUs?
No, the reason why I don't is because what Xbox showed me with the Xbox One was course correction from the middle of the generation to the end of the Xbox One generation, which is the Scorpio comes out. They start to focus on power. They start to focus on what the gamer wants, and then the studio acquisition. So that's what I'm like. Okay, I'm gonna hang in there because I see you trying to make long term plays. So now the series consoles come out. And I can tell the marketing is all about, hey, we're not going to be behind on power anymore. We're going to be competitive there. And when I saw the series, at first I was confused. I'm like, okay, dual SKU, how does that work? But then when I looked at it, I'm like, okay, one is all digital. Then I looked at the price point and I looked at the architecture. I'm like, okay, it's pretty similar. The only issue is, yes, one, it does have a little less RAM. But I said, I could see this working. And the reason why I could see it working is because if you have someone that's curious about the ecosystem but doesn't want to fully commit to the $500 X, right? And you just want a starting point from a next generation console, I said I could see that helping them if they turn it around. Again, we're talking about now, look at this ABK thing may go down, right? Think about this. If Call of Duty is available on the Series S and you put a Series S version of Call of Duty for $300, and you someone new to the ecosystem, and you say, hey, you get all this in Game Pass, you know what I mean? And you have this whole library. I could see the vision, especially with the Game Pass initiative from which started at the end of the middle to the end of the Xbox One generation. So I saw their digital vision with the subscription service, and I'm like, this could work. They just got to have the games. They got to pull it off as far as the execution of the quality of the games. But if they do that, then yeah, they'll be in position to succeed. So I felt very strong that they course corrected and they listened. Let's be honest, since the Phil Spencer era, because his whole thing was, hey, we got to clean up what happened with Matrick and, the whole, we have a console for you and digital. Like, they did a good job on trying to course correct. And that's why I felt okay about the dual SKU as opposed to, PlayStation doing the traditional way and so on and so forth.
Okay, so that's a slightly messy question for Xbox, right? Now I got a slightly messy one for PlayStation.
Let's go.
How do you feel about seeing this current generation where it seems that everything that Xbox does, Sony's following, yet they're ahead? So with the whole subscription service, rewards, backwards compatibility, PC porting, the list goes on as to what it seems like the leader is copying third place, which is weird. Kay Asante put this really well when he was on Bullsitting a few weeks back. He said it's weird that the person running in first place keeps looking back to check to see where somebody not in second place but in third place is up to mimic what they're doing, although that they're leading.
No,
how do you feel about that?
I think to me, it goes to show you that Xbox, for the most part, from a technological standpoint, from the way the future of gaming is trending, has always been ahead of its time and has always ultimately been right. When it came down, we talked about OG Xbox, hard drive, internet, broadband. Now we're talking Xbox Live, online chat, party chats, all that stuff. Then we're talking subscription service, Game Pass, this, that, and the third, right? Digital future. I will give Sony Cloud. They were first with Gaikai. I give them that, no question.
But they let it they let it ride. They didn't really do anything with it.
And if you look, PlayStation, they're very
because they had rewards first too.
Yes, you're absolutely right. They dipped their toe in, and maybe it's the better strategy. Who knows? But they dipped their toe in. I'm like, okay. And then they eventually commit. The same thing how we talked about PS3, their online really wasn't robust. It really wasn't so. It was kind of a tacked on feature as opposed to Xbox 360 going super aggressive with it. That's the difference. And I think that PlayStation realizes is just that their base and what is expected, they don't want to fully commit until they see, I guess, some returns, smaller returns initially, and then they jump in. So I agree.
Until they realize they fucked up, essentially. Because you look at because you look at the rewards program and it's like, oh crap, Microsoft's taking advantage of that. You look at the backwards compatibility, we believe in generations. Oh crap, we stepped in poop again. PC, I know where you're going. Same thing. You know what I'm saying?
I know you're absolutely right. But here's the thing. The reason, in their defense, the reason why they have to be careful is because they have positioned themselves marketing as this prestige brand, right?
Very true.
Who we operate this. We have great titles. We're great. We don't do the other things and then they have to walk things back because they end up contradicting themselves with, like you said, believe in generations. Our games are only on PlayStation, but now they come into PC. So you've built, it's like Country Club. You've built your fan base. Like, we're the Country Club. We're the guys, right? We do this. But then you seeing what the other one's doing, like, yo, that could make money. How do we say it? We got to ease them in. We can't be aggressive and switch to a subscription service. We can't be aggressive and switch to cloud. We have to ease them in because we told them all this exclusive talk and greatness talk. So that's what happens. But the reality is, yo, you got to make money, yo, bro. We got to put that on PlayStation 4 as well. And so that's what it is. So it's an easing in, and then slowly their fan base goes, okay, they are pivoting that way. That's why the fan base is so negative to change sometimes. And I think PlayStation recognizes that, and that's why the messaging is slower. It's a dip a toe in first, as opposed to an aggressive shift that Xbox would do.
Okay, fair.
Mhm.
I know I said I'd leave the Switch out, but I'm gonna throw it in just
Oh,
real quick.
what you need? What you need?
With Tears of the Kingdom on
Mhm.
its way out,
Yes.
we seen what happened last time a Zelda game of this magnitude came out, that being Breath of the Wild, that went
Ooh.
from Wii U to the Switch and
Facts.
then flourished on the
Mhm.
Switch.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Do
yeah.
you see Nintendo having the same kind of itinerary when it comes to their next generation console, that being putting out Tears of the Kingdom, letting it soak up and get as much money as possible, and then drop the new console on you guys and almost force you to want to double dip?
I can
Do you
see
feel
it.
like that's going to happen, or do you have a different scenario in mind?
I mean, it's clear we're towards the end of the cycle. I mean, they done pushed that Tegra chip and that Switch to the damn limit. Shout out to the developers on the Switch. They out here doing the Lord's work, getting ports on this
They
thing.
really
I
are.
don't know how they doing it, but salute. Like that's actually the Nintendo Switch is probably one of my favorite Nintendo consoles as a Sega kid because that it made me fall back in love with them. Breath of the Wild was absolutely amazing. You're absolutely correct. Wii U transition to launch again with the Nintendo Switch. They clearly are at the end of the cycle. The only difference was Breath of the Wild launched, I believe, around the same time, right, with the Wii U and the what you call. So I do feel that that's the slight difference is that it's going to come after. But yeah, I could see a situation where they repackage it of whatever new Nintendo Switch Pro, Switch 2, whatever it is, and then give it some more bells and whistles. But the reason why I agree that it could be a transitionary game is the fact that my only beef with it is as great as Breath of the Wild 2, the latest one, because in the beginning I wasn't as high as everybody else on it. But the newest one, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling this. This is cool. But my issue was when they said it was going to be Breath of the Wild 2 as opposed to just another Zelda game. And when I hear new Zelda game, I think of more advancements. We're not going to be in the same biomes per se that we've already done, just in the sky and other stuff. And don't get me wrong, I get it. Narrative stuff, I get it's different. They're doing a lot of stuff in the sandbox, absolutely creative. But I look at it as a safe choice because Breath of the Wild is beloved, and then they can make iterations and advances on it if they come out with a new console. So I'm on to what you cooking with that right there. I think that this represents probably more towards the very end of the Switch generation as opposed to that
All
true jump. Mhm.
All right. Well, we have hit the last like 10 minutes of the show,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna use this opportunity to
Mhm.
ask you some questions that's kind of more or less what's going on mentally with current up to the
Mhm.
future. All right.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about, my first question to you is, what is a genre of video games that you don't really rock with that much? Like if you were to
Mm.
walk into let's take it a step back. Let's say you walk into Blockbuster, Hollywood Video or
Mhm.
something like this, one of those
Yeah.
old school joints, right?
Yeah.
And they actually gave video games respect and put them in genres like they do
Facts,
movies.
facts, facts. I know where you're going.
Like I
I know where
always
you're
wish that when I was a kid, I was like, I wish
going.
they had just put these in genres because I don't know what the hell this game is. But
Yep.
anyways, let's say they put them all into genres and you see that. What's the
Mhm.
genre that you are probably not even gonna look at?
Hate to say it, but my Souls games, man. I get it.
Oh.
I know why y'all love them. Listen, I was playing Shinobi. That was Dark Souls before Dark Souls. Like I done been through that chamber in my younger gamer life to try to have the prove it chops, which is yo, I done beat that boss. I done did all this stuff. I at this age am not trying to stress myself, throw controllers, and die 75 times at certain bosses. That I am not in that pocket. Not that COG is averse to any challenging game, of course, but those are a different breed, and I know the young generation they love that stuff, but I've been through that chamber already from the old days. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I don't to me it's a bragging right thing and it's a challenge thing and it's a sense of accomplishment, no doubt. But I don't go looking for that, like off the rip. That's so I'm sorry. I know my Elden Ring guys get mad. I get it. It's just I'm not on that type of time anymore. That's what it would be for me right now.
Fair enough. I like to tell people like, yo, like I mean, as you said earlier, you think this game is hard. Go play Bionic Commando on NES right now.
Bro,
If you
straight
think
up.
this game is hard, I want to see you beat this.
Bro,
You
no
got 3
save
lives,
states,
bro. Good luck.
no 3 lives, no save states, and no we could look it up on YouTube and see how dude beat the boss. There was none of that. Like I was soulsing before these dudes. Like that's why it makes me like me and Addict will go out. I'm like, bro, that's dope what you doing, but we had no help. And a lot of this stuff was 1 life, 1 death, 1 continue, 3 life, or whatever. So to me,
On
I
an
laugh.
uncomfortable controller, ripping
Thank
your
you.
fingers apart.
There's nothing this generation gonna tell me about, yo, you ain't no real gamer. What? Like, go play Mega Man, go play Bionic Commando, go play Ghosts and Goblins and all these games. You get back to me without no save state and all that. Then you get back to me. And it's funny watching those guys. That's why we do Addict Plays, and he's playing. We call it millennial playing like classics. And he's like, yo, this damn game. I don't know what you guys are crazy. These games are nuts. Yeah, welcome to us. That was what we was doing.
Yeah. It sucks, doesn't it? Yeah. It but anyways, fantastic answer for that one. I want to know now, what are the best 3 games that you've played within the past year? So this doesn't have to be new games particular. This is just the best 3 games that Lord Cognito introduced himself to in the last year.
Man, all right. I go so hard for Firaxis and turn-based games. I gotta throw Midnight Suns in there because it's the perfect geek marriage of a guy that loves comics and comic books and Marvel and MCU, and then a guy that loves turn-based. And then, I started to play cards games through this game called Demio, which I really want to give props to.
Yeah, you had the guy on your channel actually.
Yeah,
one of the creators. Yeah,
man.
That was really cool. VR game.
Yes, yeah. So Demio is up there. Midnight Suns is up there last year. Man, it's so many, man. There's so many. I mean, where can I mean, for this year, obviously I liked Hi-Fi Rush a lot. I like that. Last year, so many. I'm gonna throw something in the cut that a lot of people didn't I'm a big indie guy. I liked Somerville. Somerville was fun. Yeah, like it I come from the old era of what you call Out of This World and Another World, where there's this atmospheric 2D storytelling where they don't hold your hand, they don't tell you what's going on, and you have to try to make sense of the world and what's happening. That was a good one. There's more. These are the ones I can think off top. There's way more games that I'm forgetting. Forbidden City, what was it? Forgotten City was a really good roguelike that I liked. Yeah, I like Naraka. So many, man. I'm a in the cut game. I like games sometimes that a lot of people ain't talking about. You know what I'm saying? And yeah,
that's how I feel about Scorn. I love
Yeah.
Scorn. A lot of people didn't like it. I loved it.
I like it's games like that where I get into it. I really like it. And I don't get enough credit. But yeah, shout out to Java Guitar here. That's what. But yeah, those are some off the top. Those are some off the top right now.
Okay. I now want to know what's your favorite studio and what game best represents that studio.
This is tough because
a lot of great studios out there.
Yeah, this is tough. All right.
And keep in mind, you can take it back. So if you want to say like Midway or something like that ain't even around anymore, hey, man, I ain't mad at you.
I was a big Bandai Namco guy. I used to be super hard. Obviously, the tech and all that stuff. I'm gonna flip it. I like Obsidian. I'm gonna give Respawn their flowers.
Okay. They've been
killing
it lately.
The reason why I want to give Respawn is because they showed me they could do any genre almost on the highest level. So we talked about Titanfall 1, how that changed the game. And remember, Respawn is we talked about, remember, Cosby betrayed, I'm a grifter, right? When I finally betrayed Halo, it was Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Infinity Ward. That's Vince Zampella and the crew. So yeah, I'm gonna have to say Respawn Titanfall 2 is probably peak for me for them because they took all the feedback.
Story.
Remember campaign? Remember? Yeah, that was the only issue with Titan. It was like an online campaign. It wasn't really a campaign. But Titanfall 2, the story of BT, man, and then they had the
That's a
multiplayer
sad ass story too, man.
tag
Damn.
story, man, and then you talk about again changing the game, wall running. I'm a guy that likes Transformers, so basically jumping out of my Titan and I got my little Optimus with me. Let it go. You know what I'm saying? Like it just is. I just love what Respawn is
That
doing.
feeling you get when you're like, get the hell out of this Titan, get me out of this thing, and
Oh,
you shoot up and go invisible.
Bro, playing
Ejectocito.
those walls, yeah, bro. So you had the gunplay of Call of Duty with this new Titanfall energy story. They complete. I like Frontier mode, which is like a PvE kind of like a horror mode. The game doesn't get that game broke my heart. What EA did to that, the way they launched that in that when don't even get
Let
me started.
hackers get at it, man.
Oh,
Damn.
they let the hackers get into it, man. Titanfall should have been done better. And there's a part of me that, as much as I love Respawn, again, this is proof. I was angry when Apex got announced because I'm not that much of a battle royale as hardcore. But look how great Apex is. As much as it's a testament to Respawn. Then you talk about Jedi Fallen Order, right?
It just shows you that what they give a damn about, they give a damn about.
Damn about. Yeah, I got people over it. Like, yo, I got to give Respawn their flowers right now. Respawn is them dudes, and we're looking forward for the next Jedi and see what they do with that joint. And yeah, I'm excited for them. So no doubt.
All right. Hey, I like that answer. That's not bad at all. I mean, because they got a game that's coming out in, what is it, like a week?
Yeah. We'll have to see if they can do it again. I don't think they've made a whack game. That's how strong I feel about Respawn. I'm not an Apex guy like that, and I recognize that game's great. So I have to give them their flowers.
The only thing I can be mad about with them is like the support with Titanfall. But other than that, it's just like, man, they legit don't miss. They don't miss. They're like the third party Naughty Dog out here.
Yeah,
putting in that work. But anyways, just a couple more questions before we get up out of here. What is the game that you're most excited for? And I want this actually to be plural, so multiple. So give me some games that you're really looking forward to that aren't out. And I'm going to say that aren't out until let's move from July to the future. So because I feel like like it's obvious for Jedi Fallen Order and like Diablo 4 and stuff like that. But I want to get a little bit like more future. Like so what are we looking at?
Glad you put that caveat. Listen, it's definitely Starfield. It is definitely Starfield. We talked about Oblivion, right, for Xbox 360, the era of the Western RPG. That's when I fell in love with Bethesda. No one does Western RPG, dialogue, systems, factions. They just have the open world genre down. Skyrim is peak Bethesda as far as I'm concerned. Now you're marrying space into this, which I'm a huge fan. So you talk about crewmates, and I love Mass Effect. This is probably one of the most ambitious games that I've heard
of all time, possibly.
And him, John, Todd Howard and the team making a new IP excites me in this generation. Ship combat, the Great Frontier. This has potential to be extremely special. I am super excited to see what this game evolves into. So Starfield is by far my most anticipated game, period. Like, I'm that guy because I know when Bethesda A-Team puts out something and it's done right, there's nothing like it. So if they nail this, Todd will cement himself as you're gonna put respect on my name. It's that type of energy. They gotta nail it though. It's a big pressure. There's a lot of pressure, especially with the Xbox and the exclusive. They got extra pressure on this one. There's no doubt. But if they nail it, they could have a moment like Elden Ring where people were like, yo, what were you doing? Well, I was on this planet and this happened and I fought this. It could be that kind of a natural viral energy based on that's how Skyrim was. And people forget how great Skyrim Oblivion was. at the time. So that's what I'm
See, Todd Howard out here looking like LeBron James. And
actually.
in this Starfield is right here is the point record. This will
Absolutely.
solidify any doubts or
Yes.
any, kind of questions on, was this dude up there? Yeah. I mean, look at the points.
Bro,
He's
look
on
at
top of the
career.
list.
Look at the stats. Like, people fronting on the resume, like, bro, and people forget they always throw 76, but 76 wasn't really his team. That was another team. So
And it still ended up being fantastic. So
exactly. So look, at the end of the day, I get it. Like, it's been a while, but this is the first time he's doing a new IP, and he's behind. Like, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. But I feel if they nail this, people will put that respect again on his name and his greatness in the industry. Shout out to Todd.
do you have any other games that you're kind of looking forward to, but not as much as Starfield, because that's number one.
And we can keep it Xbox again. Rest in peace, my man Dizzy. We used to have these arguments before he passed, and like we used to treat Xbox Game Studios like the NBA draft picks. Like, who you got? Who? So I'm like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll go hard for Obsidian. He'd be like, yo, bro, you fronting on Ninja Theory. And I'm like, yeah, I like them. They dope. You know what I'm saying? But like, I ain't going to front. I remember playing Hellblade 1 for the first time. And this little studio punched above its weight to like AAA status. And the use of sound and psychosis and to their voices and to hear someone going through that and the graphical fidelity. And I just think they could be a young LeBron in the rising for themselves. Like, if they listen, you put a budget behind that team that did that game, and now we seeing the early pictures of Hellblade 2 and the footage and Unreal 5 outside, bro. Hellblade could be, and even though it's not technically has just won all the way because I don't consider it a new IP, no one's going to care because it's that cinematic game that PlayStation usually makes, right? That it's that third person over the shoulder, extremely narrative. Now this is dark, sensuous, bro. If they nail that, oh boy, you're gonna see a lot of people wanting to get an Xbox if they nail this thing. So I'm really, really pulling for them guys too. I think they got a real shot to do something special over there at Ninja Theory. So yeah, that's the second one. Hellblade 2, no doubt. Probably the third one, again, keeping an Xbox Game Studio, is Avowed. To see them with a budget, to see them doing their version or their take on a Skyrim kind of thing. You know, I'm really excited. I think that, you know, when these games come out, you know, and Obsidian, and we talk about don't miss. Obsidian is one of them ones. Obsidian is one of them ones. You can say what you want. Grounded is fire. I was fronting. I was laughing. I was like, why are they making Grounded? What the hell? I was like, they're going to mess up the street. And then I played it. People fronting on Pentiment. Pentiment is amazing. If you give it a shot from a narrative standpoint, I know they haven't missed to me. Outer Worlds is amazing. So I look at Obsidian. I look at with Avowed and what you call it, Outer Worlds 2. I look at Ninja Theory with Hellblade 2. They also got Project Mara and all that. And then yeah, man, I'm looking at all this stuff. I think there is potential here, and that's why I'm still bullish about the Xbox, you know, ecosystem in the game studio, because I see the potential of what it could be. But yes, they have to execute, and these games have to be quality. No question. But that's obviously with the Starfield.
Yeah, man, and just to go back to that Hellblade thing about what you said about the sound and her freaking out and all the voices, and then the immediate frustration that the game gives you at the beginning, where it's like, yo, don't die too much, man. There was a few times where I died and I about chucked my controller. I was so angry. I was just like, no, I do not want the game to end here. Not here. And then at the end of the game, yada yada, you end up finding out some interesting stuff about your situation. But yeah, that's just the psychology of that game is freaking amazing.
Yeah, psychosis done on an amazing level.
All right, so then I got two more main questions, and the first, and they're pretty much I like to combine this section because it kind of is good versus bad. So I'm gonna ask you first, of Oh, I forgot to ask you this question too.
Let's go. I'm here.
Quickly.
Let's go.
Let me know 2 games that you would like to revive that are dead IPs right now.
Damn.
Sorry, I had to hit you with that quick.
Let's go. So revive. Oh, let's go. Shout out to my mans from High Moon Studios. We need the Transformers, the War of Cybertron, the Fall of Cybertron games. We need those revised. We need sequels. Those are true G1 Transformer games. I need those back. So there's no question. The second one is actually an MMO that died a premature death that was one of the greatest. I want Marvel Heroes back. Marvel Heroes was an MMO Diablo style PC game that had all the heroes done with such love and care and reverence. And it came to console early in the gen, and there was some scandal at the studio. And sadly, damn, they died up there. Probably the other one would probably be Heroes. And I'm a big Marvel Ultimate Alliance guy as well for co-op and stuff like that. So yeah, man, those ones need to come back. Those shouldn't have died the way they died. They hurt my heart. They were gone. So those are my 3: Marvel Heroes, the Transformers Cybertron series, led by I believe his name is David Teague, and yeah, the Ultimate Alliance. I was mad that it was kind of a Switch exclusive. I wanted it on better, but I wanted it on better. So those are my joints.
Let me get a revival of this joint right here.
Turtle Darkness, let's go. Oh, yeah, and stupid me. Shinobi. I need Shinobi, the Sega love. Let's go. Forgot about that.
Now, do you want that on console or do you want another cabinet?
I gotta get the console now. I gotta get the console.
What happened if they made a next gen cabinet though?
Arcade dead, man. As much as I would love it for nostalgic purposes, I need Shinobi revised. I need some Ninja Gaiden treatment. I need some cinematic aspects with Joe Musashi. I need it to the next level. Something. At least give me a Shadow Dancer. Give me something, man. Come on. I need something. That's what
I see you, John Wolf. He said Prototype. That's not a bad pick either, man. That's a fantastic game. But all right. So the last 2 questions. The first one is, what about gaming in general? So this could be community, this could be development, this could be anything. What about gaming frustrates you?
What frustrates me? Dudes beefing, like legit beefing, like beyond like, yo, you a Sega guy, I'm a Nintendo guy, you a Sony guy, I'm an Xbox guy. Okay, I get that. It's always going to be a little bit of sports teams energy in the game. I get that part. But where I get me is like, yo, your mom, so I'm a F you up, and then I see you, it's on site, and your kids, and like, bro, like, here's the thing that's just clown behavior to be like, bro, I'm from the South Bronx. We got real situations going on. Like, we got people in life has real life things going on. There's wars going on. Where I'm from, video games wasn't cool like that. Like, I'm from the era, like it was kind of looked at like some nerdy thing. You weren't really, you know what I'm saying? So like,
nobody wearing no Mario t-shirts back in the day.
Yeah, like people would clown me when I would come with instruction booklets, and like the geeks would clown. I was in this weird pocket because I played sports. I was an athlete. I was with the cool kids, but then also I definitely, I was rocking with the geeks. They had the games, and I loved the games.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yo,
they knew what was hot.
Facts. You ain't gonna disrespect my man because we play this Halo, we play whatever. So grown men really talk about this on site and being disrespectful and personal attacks. None of this stuff you gonna say. You hiding behind an avatar, my guy. You would never say this stuff to anybody's face. So the fact that we're all gamers, at the end, we supposed to be brothers regardless. You just, okay, sports team, that's your favorite team. But you love the game of football. You love the game of sports. Like, that's the part where it blinds me, where people, I just go crazy that people is that angry over a video game. Like, you wilding to me. That's all. I get it. You could be passionate about the way you want the future of gaming to go, or, the direction, or you're passionate, hey, your favorite game, they disappointed you. I get that. But dudes be taking it to the next level with the personal attacks. And listen, you ain't gonna say that to me straight up. So don't say that to me on no day. And to be honest, I kind of try to avoid, that energy. And I honestly have a 10 tweet rule. If I look at your last 10 tweets and everything is you beefing with somebody and you taking it to some next level, there's nothing me and you gonna have to talk about. I'm not on that type of time. I'm here to have fun. No one's having fun no more, Ham. Like fun, like yo, remember like what happened to the days like yo, fam, yo, I just played. You put the screenshot up, yo, this game looks amazing. I'm having so much fun. Dudes ain't playing games having fun. Dudes is looking at news and then beefing with other dudes and taking it personal. Like what? It's wild behavior to me. It's just cornball behavior to me. But that's just me. Maybe I'm old school. It's a different generation. I admit that. But that's the part that frustrates me. Dudes legit be in their feelings about stuff and mad at you. Like, that's crazy.
I remember the beef back in the day was convincing somebody to play a game, not so much arguing with them on the hardware per se. Like, it was more or less like, oh, this, man, that game day ain't nothing compared to my NFL fever. Like, you know what I'm saying? That was the kind of beef that I remember having.
You 100%. It would be my game is better than your game kind of energy, or I think this is the superior, like Final Fantasy 6 versus Final Fantasy 7, or just little things like Mass Effect 1 versus Mass Effect 2, fun little beefs. Like, where it's like, okay, you comparing game to game. Nah, yo, Cog, you got a big head, and you know what I'm saying? You disrespectful, and your mom F your kids. I'm like, damn. Yo, or the dudes are clipping you out. This Xbox dude. I'm like, bro, you spent all that time making a video about me because you disagree with my opinion on something when you literally could use that same energy and go make a channel and go make some bread and go really, you know what I'm saying? Like all the energy you made with
learn something instead of learning all about me in the negative light.
Like, bro, you could have funneled that same energy and go make something to get some bread. Like, dudes are sitting on Twitter all day, like Clubhouse and what's the other joint? Spaces all day beefing about other men. And here's the list of how you know they don't love gaming. If you love something the way you claim, why are you beefing with the other side all day? Because if you love it, you'd be talking about and enjoying. You wouldn't even have time to be beefing. You'll be busy celebrating and playing the stuff you love. That's what it is. Yeah, Wolf, it's a lot. Dudes be insecure. I be peeping it. They tie themselves and make it their identity and literally get upset and personal and beef with people. That joint is wild to me.
Absolutely. Well, on the flip side, bruh,
let's go.
What is a dream come true to you in gaming? And I'm gonna tell you, bro, this is interesting because I felt like one of your dreams came through this last Sunday. That was phenomenal. To get that much support had to have felt like a dream come true. But what else is kind of going around in your head? What's the next move of importance or success goal wise?
I think for me, the dream come true right now is the shirt I'm wearing today. And for me, listen, I Want Podcast is the team, right? We the foundation. But for us to take it to the next level, we like, yo, they're fronting on us. They won't let us get access to an event. They won't let us cover a game. And I was like, yo, we got to legitimize it. So rest in peace, my man Dizzy, who had Playback Gaming. He had a website. He said, I love ILP. He was like, if you want to put your content on my website, I was like, bro, it's an honor for you to even consider that. So he's like, I see the vision. You guys are going to be great kind of thing. And then, he did his thing for a little bit. We came back together. He's like, you know what? Let's merge. Let's form something. And that's when Lords of Gaming formed. And Lords of Gaming means so much to me because one, we're independent news outlet media, that helped facilitate, going to E3 as media. That helped facilitate going to PAX as media. That like we couldn't get in as a podcast, because let's be honest, it's a pure numbers game. If you don't have 50,000, 100,000 subscribers, they don't even want to listen to you. So I think for me, forming that, it legitimized us. And then we have all these amazing writers all over the world. My editor-in-chief is from Bahrain. I have people in Croatia. I have people like who are passionate about games and want to give the industry. And then we gave brothers opportunities. You know what I'm saying? People have gone on to get journalist jobs. You know, Windows Central, Destructor, all the because of us giving them a shot at Lords of Gaming. And I think
Wow.
that to me, I'm super proud of because we're starting to create. We're almost right now. I mean, obviously, I have bigger plans for, but right now we're kind of like that double A or that triple A, that minor league. Before you go to the big leagues, you learn your craft, you get your skill up, and then we're providing you opportunity. You're gonna get review codes if you earn your stripes. You're gonna be able to interview developers if you earn your stripes. So it's like I love what's going on, and the love that we got. You know what I'm saying is tremendous. So yeah, Lords of Gaming is probably what I'm most proud of because it facilitates something that I didn't see people really gravitating towards and giving a lane for people in the industry. So that's what I would say right now.
Well, I tell you what, Cog, you guys over at Iron Lords podcast and Lords of Gaming and all that stuff that you guys do, the community really appreciates it. I know people like me that just want to hear about games and have fun, crack jokes, but not at other people's expenses.
Facts.
Like, I really appreciate that, and that helps me keep a clear head onto where other people are going with this. Am I going in the right direction? Oh, I see the Iron Lords are doing exactly what I set out to kind of do. So you guys are almost at the forefront of this positive movement within podcasting, gaming, and news. So I really appreciate it, and I really have had a fantastic time being here with you today on Behind Them Sticks. Please do me a quick favor. I know everybody that's probably here already knows who you are, but just in case somebody comes to the stream and they're just like, I don't know who this guy is or what he does or whatnot, please let everybody know where they could find you.
Much love, much love. Yeah, man. Shout out to you, Ham, for having me. This is fantastic. I'm at Lord Cognito on Twitter. You can find me on social media, on YouTube. It's Iron Lords podcast. You know what I'm saying? Every Sunday is the Lord's Day. Every Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can come check me and my brothers out, Lord King, Lord Soft, Lord Addict. We talk about the latest gaming news. That's every Sunday. And then obviously I talked about already the website, shout out to lordsofgaming.net, man. Lordsofgaming.net if you want original content, opinion pieces, walkthrough, game guides, tech reviews. We do that, and it's independent. You know what I'm saying? We from the dirt, man. We grind, we put the work, we go to the shows, we're actually at these conventions, we actually get coverage, we interview the developers, and it really means a lot for the support for Lognet especially. And then obviously for a more Xbox centric podcast, I do Defining Duke with Mr. Matty Plays. That's on Last Stand Media. Go check that out if you just want to hear, kind of like isolated Xbox thoughts. And then obviously my roots will always be Destiny. So I still have a Destiny podcast. Salute to my man Ebontis and Ty Guy Travis from IGN. We run The Last Word. I'll be doing that later today after this show. I'm a busy man. So we got that going on. And look, man, I really appreciate the support, man. Ham, I love what you're doing. I did my research on you. I know I appreciate your patience with me. You know what I'm saying? I know my schedule is not the easiest, but I really like what you're doing. I like what you're trying to do. And it kind of reminds me of our foundation, how we started. And, I'm a believer that the problem I feel with the content creation game is some people get to a point, and I get it, they get to that level and they're going to be harder to reach. But I always try to remember how it was when I got in the game and nobody gave me a chance. No one would come on my show and no one would, you know what I mean? So I try to give back as much as I can.
Yeah, I get denied a ton. A lot of people are like, how you get these people? How you get this person on the show? Yeah. And I'm just like, man, I've got denied like 30 times this week. Like, you see me frustrated or something like that. It's like, dude, you don't know how many people I just got done talking to, how many people I had to reschedule. This is why I book this show for like 2 months ahead of schedule. Absolutely. Just so I can have, I can give people like you the opportunity to be like, hey, man, I'm sorry, I can't make it. And then I still have enough time to be like, all right, how do I maneuver this? How do I switch up everything and whatnot? I really appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, appreciate you too. That's why I was joking with you. I was like, I could tell your passion. I was like, bro, it's gonna happen. I know, because I knew your energy was coming from a good place, but people were doing BS to you. I knew what was going on, so I was like, he ain't got nothing to worry. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna tell you this, that, and we made it happen with schedules aligned. And that's why I wanted to give you your flowers for that, because it reminded me of the struggles me and Attic would go through. Like, damn, like, yo, this person fronted or it canceled or whatever, whatever. And it's just like you said, you give them a shot. And like I came on, I'm like, yo, we had a fantastic time, right? We had a fantastic, and that's the thing. It's like people, once they give you a shot, they go be like, yo, nah, ham behind them sticks, this is fire. And the word gets out. So stick with it, brother. It's a grind. It's not easy. There's gonna be frustrations all the time. But at the end of the day, just keep doing what you do, keep your positive energy. And eventually, look, you can't block the sun forever. It's gonna shine, bro. It's going to shine. Like as long as you surround yourself with good people, you're gonna be all right. And like I said, I'll try my best to help out. And I wanted to come here and I had a fantastic time. But thank you so much. This was fun. It was stuff I left out. You know I could talk, so it was stuff I left. We could been here for 4 hours, and I'm known
Right.
for that. So yeah, salute to you. This was dope. And shout out to Bag, shout the chat. The chat is lit. Joanna Dog, pleasure meeting that brother. So cool. John Wolf, me and you got a link too. I know you reached out to me in the past on my schedule. And Back for Dead, my Destiny brethren. We met in real life. Yeah, you got good people around you, man. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. But this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody, like I said, if you guys, if there's anybody out there that doesn't know Lord Cognito or the Iron Lords podcast, I got all of his stuff in the description below. So his Twitter, his webpage of Lords of Gaming, also the YouTube channel Iron Lords podcast, Round Table. It's down there. So you guys make sure that you check it out. And I see Forte pulling up. Good to see you, brother.
That's my homie.
Game Forte is a good man. Good,
bro.
brother. I seen
So
him giving
proud
you
of
the love and
bro.
everything this
From the
last Sunday.
store. He at
From
work.
the store.
He did
Yeah,
it.
in the middle of an aisle.
Listen, I don't give my. There's few people that got my real government number, and I consider like Forte one of them dudes, man. I got so much love for Forte. Salute to him, man. But it's good when I get a chance to do stuff like this. I do miss guesting. Then I ain't got a host. You got to do all the work.
Right. Isn't that nice? So the parting words I want to have here today is I want you to do what I had Forte do, what I've had John Wolf do, what I've had many people do at the very end of my show, including King David and Lord Attic. I want you to describe gaming for me in just 3 words.
Fun. Tech. Community.
Fun, tech, community. Those actually that actually goes kind of together quite nicely. So thank you again, brother, so much for giving me your time, your space, your knowledge, your history. Thank you so much for being able to do that. And thank you to everybody in the chat that decided to join me today. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you guys. You guys are the reason that this channel keeps growing and growing and growing. It may be going at a slower pace now, but this is what I consider me building the infrastructure of the community. You guys are a part of that building process, and I really appreciate you guys for being part of it. Keep in mind tomorrow, Behind Them Sticks, I'm gonna be having Wandering Dutch coming through. It's gonna be not Behind Them Sticks. I'm tripping, bullsitting. We're gonna be having Wandering Dutch coming through. We're gonna talk about all different types of stuff, and then next week, check me out. On Thursday, I'm gonna be having Rick from Fextra Life come through for Behind Them Sticks. Yeah, he's a good dude as well. Mike Mola said he was he's a badass in gaming. But then for bullsitting of next week, Lord Addict is coming through. He's coming in the house. So it's there's some lords around my spaces, and I ain't mad. But thank you so much, everybody, for coming through. Make sure you guys hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't had a chance to do so. And just keep in mind that if you're messing with Ham Solo, you better keep it gaming or keep it moving. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.
Welcome to the Behind Them Sticks podcast, brought to you by TSWS Gaming.
Come and talk to me, Lennard Ray. That's your name. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby. Listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you if you quit playing. Won't you take a chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Look, see we vibing and you know it's true. Baby, what it do? Do for me and I'ma do for you. No doubt about it, boo. See, I'm a Midwest king, looking for myself a queen. Ready to chase a dream with a dope self-esteem. You find it in all I know, and that's for real. You get to shaking that ass on the floor, and I see what's real. No disrespect, I just tell it like it is. Do you ever want some kids? What your ultimate goals? Maybe I can help with those. The mo was broke when he made you a blessing. You looking like a whole buffet, and I need some seconds. You say you had promiscuous ways, that was back in the day. I'll be alive, I say I did it, that shit was a phase. So baby, take this journey with me. You can pick the time and place, this nigga isn't picky. Smile on your face, I know the deal. Sign and deliver after seal. I can see it in her eyes, this one right here for real.